All right, so welcome all to Village Council January 12th, 2021 regular meeting. I show it at 6:30 and I show everyone present other than Councilman Andy Wortman. And I see a few people on the screen there for presentations, and I also see Mr. Councilman Bob Markleese up. So we are good to go. First up, we have adoption of the agenda. Do we have any changes, removals, anything we need to make note of?
I would like to add a number 7 under unfinished business.
Okay. Let it be known that Mayor Pro Tem is trying to extend the meeting.
I would just like to get an update from Derek on his conversation with Union Power, if he has had it yet. On the burn.
He is going to call in for his items.
I know, I talked to him.
And that's unfinished number 7.
Yep.
Update from Derek.
Derek. And then if I have an open topic, should I say it now or just say it when we get to open topics?
You can just save it for them.
You can say it, yeah, you can say it anytime you want. You want to do it now? Go ahead.
Oh, no, I'll do it.
We'd like to add, we'll either give you a thumbs up or no on that.
Well, then I'll do it then.
And then the first presentation has they've had to reschedule. So
yeah, the Woodhull HOA meeting was postponed, so it's not.
Okay, so did they are not available?
Yeah,
so,
that's not happening tonight.
Something we did. Okay, so we're removing that. Goes right into Union County. Bjorn will be happy about that. I know he's probably listening. He's first up on the docket. Okay, so we haven't amended this. Is there anything else, Mr. Markleese?
We need to make a motion. We need to make a motion to, or I make a motion to allow Councilman Markleese to attend the meeting virtual.
Thanks for the reminder. Further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, so I'll need also a motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
So moved.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next up, we have the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Great signs. We need to get those on fire. They nixed it.
I know.
Stupid.
That's, and they're looking for ways to spend money.
Yeah.
And they do, and they nix that.
So funny. Wow.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Said it was lack of communication. All right, here we go. Public comment period. Do we have anyone that has signed up?
ooh,
No one up on Zoom? Okay. So we will move forward to presentations. We've had Woodhull reschedule, and now we're up to Union County 2050 Comprehensive Plan presentation. Bjorn, I see you're on there. If you can unmic and welcome and Happy New Year. See there.
He unmuted himself, so
Saw you there.
yeah.
We don't hear you yet. There we see you.
cannot hear him.
Can't hear you though. I see you talking.
And there's a song your lips are moving, but.
Yeah. It's Maggie Trainer.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Bjorn, can you hear us? Can you wave at us and let us know? Okay, you can hear us. We can't hear you. It shows mute up on ours, though.
No, he's unmuted.
Oh, he's unmuted.
unmuted.
Okay. There you go. Still nothing.
Yeah.
Gotta love virtual meetings.
Can he call in?
Yeah, worst comes to worst, he can call in. We've done that.
No,
Yeah.
I bet he has like stuff to share.
Yeah, I mean he can call for the audio
And share
and then
visible.
screen share here.
Okay.
Plus he hears the echo.
Yeah. We'll know
Well,
who's
then he
live.
He could mute his
Awesome,
computer audio
his
at that
end,
point. Yeah.
Bjorn, I think I have your cell phone number. Do you want to have him call you? Or
Yeah, I could call him.
okay.
It
I
is
think
so
we're going to have Rohit give you a phone call on your cell so we can at least hear you. Thumbs up, is that all right?
Can't hear you say anything.
You're gonna have to do hand motions. Thumbs up if we call you. Okay.
Okay.
It just had this happen last week. That's why I was so quick
Hey.
with the
Please
phone.
leave your message for 803.
Alright, wait. He's calling me. Hello. It's really faint.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, that's a lot better.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, I'll put you near our speaker then.
Oh, I'm not gonna be able to watch him because his mouth and the
Right
words
there.
are not
Yeah.
the same pace.
Yeah, right here. All right, you there?
I sure am, thank you.
Okay, we can hear you. Bob, can you hear him?
I can hear him.
Okay, great. Welcome.
Thank you. So, I'm going to turn down the speakers on my computer first. Okay, so I've worked for Union County as a long-range planner, do transportation and land use planning, currently overseeing the comprehensive plan update. And some of you have seen a presentation on this before. I'm going to give you an update as of today regarding the status of it. So I'm going to share my screen. The internet in general seems to have been pretty poor today, even at work. Things were really slow.
Are you able to share your screen?
I'm doing it right now. It's connecting.
Okay. Might take a second then.
Note for budget upgrade technology.
Okay, so are you seeing my slide where it says Union County 2050 draft plan update?
Yeah, it's starting to come up now.
Do we have a copy of this already?
There you go. We got it now.
I'm gonna ask him later.
Okay, so next slide is the process. We're really close to the end. We started this in 2019, really started in earnest about a year ago. We started the visioning process, developed a vision in the spring, went through different scenarios, different ways that we could grow, made a decision about that in the fall, and then we started hanging ornaments on the tree, so to speak, and developed a draft plan that we put out for comment in November. And quite a few people commented. We reacted to these comments in late December. The coordinating committee did that oversees this process. And so this schedule that's on here is a little bit out of date now because of the comments that we received. The coordinating committee responded to it, and we're really looking at adopting this in February now. And of course, this is a citizen-led process. So all they're doing is making their recommendation. It will then go to the planning board and the county commission for ultimate adoption. The opportunities for input in November and December did a lot of online outreach through Facebook, Union County's website, emailing to HOAs and interested residents, as well as all the municipalities. A couple of municipalities requested us to present to them in-person virtual meetings, as well as opportunities for the elected officials and planning board members from all of the municipalities. And people from about half of the municipalities across the county attended at least one of these meetings. The results, we had a video because we didn't expect too many people to read the 79-page plan document. We had a 2.5-minute video that really summarized it. We had 300 views of that video. About 1,000 people went to the actual website. 40 people had an in-person or online session, and about 98 completed surveys. And about 2/3 of them were from Sandy Ridge Township, which includes Marvin. So the western part of the county was overrepresented in terms of feedback. So most people think of the land use map as the most important output from the comprehensive plan. This map that's up on your screen is the current land use map from 2013, 2014. The colors are the same that I'm going to show you on the next map, but the green represents rural, residential, agricultural, no more than 1 unit per acre. R40 is pretty much the default zoning in Union County. So in areas like this, it wouldn't be expanded. The yellow areas are your single-family residential. This would be subdivisions essentially, And if utilities are present, it could go up to 2 units per acre. Now, this map does not show the boundaries of any of the municipalities. And the reason why is because 8-9 years ago, we were still getting a lot of de-annexation requests. I'm not sure if Marvin ever had any happen, but other municipalities had. And so when that happens, we have to apply a zoning to that land that was de-annexed, and therefore we have to refer to a map. That doesn't happen so much anymore, so we felt confident having a land use map that had the municipalities covering it. But you can see in the Marvin area in the west, it's pretty much all yellow, with the exception of a couple dots that would be for commercial nodes. This is Ray and Tom Short up here, and then you have like Ray and 16 and 16 in Newtown down here. But it's pretty much all single family residential. So if you don't have utilities, you're still at 1 unit per acre. But if you have utilities, you could propose a rezoning to take advantage of the access to utilities. Now you compare that to the current plan. One, the current document's a little bit prettier. We threw some elevation on there just to give it a little bit of texture. But we put the municipalities on. They're all in gray. And then you see there's still a lot of green. So that's your rural residential. The yellow has been pulled back, and that's the single family residential. And you can see there's still pretty much all around Marvin. But the mixed resident, the orange, that is far less common. If you go back to the previous map, you look at all that orange and you compare it to the current one, the reduction is about 95% in the unincorporated areas. The previous plan outside of the municipalities recommended about 28,000 acres of mixed residential. This would allow townhomes or apartments if the utilities were present and it had good road access. In this plan, it's really only in a few locations. You have some locations up at interchanges on the Monroe Expressway, and then some intersections along 16 and Ray Road. That's really it. It was drawn back quite a bit. And the other thing that the municipalities have really been interested in are these transition zones, which are the green hashed areas. These are kind of like ETJ, but they really only apply if a property owner is looking to develop their property and it requires a rezoning. And if that were the case, if you're in these hashed green areas, the county commissioners would, by policy, if they adopted this plan with these recommendations, they would deny the rezoning and direct the applicant to annex into the adjacent municipality and develop under their standards. So that has been identified for islands, the donut hole areas. So you can see there's a few between Indian Trail, Weddington, Wesley Chapel. There's some towards Marvin and Waxhaw, and up towards Stallings as well. But if you're a larger contiguous area, particularly if you had a commercial node, the county still has some land use recommendations, meaning that it would consider rezonings for those areas. One of the big feedbacks we received in November and December was to expand these transition zones. Some people said the county shouldn't be making any land use decisions in these areas. Others just said they wanted it expanded so it at least touched the borders of the municipalities.
Bjorn, on that map you have there, the location where Marvin is, and it looks like apparently like Waxhaw, I assume, that green area transition zone, what area is that exactly?
That's down by Waxhaw Marvin Road, probably north of Kensington.
Okay, kind of almost by where the church is, St. Matt's?
I think that's right. Could actually be by the gun club, the Charlotte Gun Club.
There's
Is that
a
in
gun
there?
club, yeah.
Yeah.
It could be that area.
Yeah.
So
Seems right.
that was a request
Club, and that's like a
to
triangle.
expand those areas.
And all the gray, to be clear, is unincorporated Union County that has limited, single family right now. No other development. Is it?
Gray is towns.
It's
Yeah.
towns.
Oh, it's towns. That's right. I'm sorry.
Gray is a town,
That's right. Okay.
or their ETJ. Monroe, Wingate, and Marshville do have ETJ. So their areas in the east are larger than just their municipal limits. So this map is is what most people focus on. But it is just a component. We make a lot of recommendations in the comprehensive plan that are more than just the land use map. But this is what people care about a lot. So in terms of the feedback that we got in November and December, again, we had about 98 people respond. You could have attended an in-person meeting, an online meeting, watched the video, or read the plan. You can see the results here. Social media, online is by far the way people are getting the word these days. And because this was a pretty negative response, the coordinating committee overseeing this process chose to extend the comment period at the request of the WUMA group, really, to say, okay, we've made some responses to some of the community comments, and let's get feedback off of that. So you can see these negatives really outweigh the yeses in terms of, does this plan adequately address your most important issue? And we're going to get into what people's most important issues were. In terms of the outreach, we also weren't very satisfied by the geographic spread. It was overwhelmingly Sandy Ridge. Sandy Ridge is about 25% of the county's population, but it was 67% of the responses, so that wasn't good. In terms of tenure, we always ask this question, how long people have lived here. We want to make sure it's not people who just moved here yesterday, and it's not just people who have lived here forever. We did have a good spread. And in terms of age, we want to make sure it's also not just young people or older people, that we have a good distribution as well, and this was reasonable. Although the under 30s always are underperforming in terms of response to surveys like this or comment periods. This list of most important issues to address, I really do consider this to be in rank order. High density is in the eye of the beholder. Roads and congestion, green space preservation, and preserving the status quo. And also, what is the status quo is also in the eye of the beholder. But you can see all kinds of comments about density, development, growth, transportation. We see Providence over here. Pretty common. Now, what I'm going to go through these next slides are the most common or important comments that were received that really merited a response from the coordinating committee, and this they did at the end of December. So the first one was about the proposed quarter-cent sales tax, which is a recommendation for the plan. The quarter-cent sales tax would be a countywide proposal that would be up for a vote by the voters, and it's really wide open in terms of what it can be used for, but counties typically issue some sort of resolution saying what they propose to use the money for. And as of right now, it just says transportation. And what was requested by residents in the Stallings and Indian Trail area was clarification on whether it could be used for specifically light rail, because they're in a study with the Charlotte area transit system to look at extending light rail down to Matthews and then potentially into Union County. And they need to figure out a way to pay for that. Could the quarter-cent sales tax be eligible for that use? The response to the coordinating committee was they were skeptical of that. They didn't have enough details, and they said that in their mind, there wasn't enough money to fund both road and transit projects. To put things in perspective, the quarter-cent sales tax would raise $5 to $6 million a year in Union County, and light rail is pretty expensive. So that was their perspective. They didn't close the door on it. They put it out for public comment. They wanted to hear from their subcommittees. The next one was to expand the transition zones even more than what they currently are shown, in order to take in nearly all land between municipalities in western Union County, because a lot of municipalities don't like the county making decisions on their border. The response was that the coordinating committee did support some expansion of the transition zones and lower density away from primary roads, but not necessarily all of the decisions. The next one was about transportation. It doesn't necessarily mean what the land use was, but just the fact that a rezoning is almost always to increase the intensity of land use on a piece of land. So the public comment was, listen, these roads, Ray Road, Providence Road, 84, Monroe Road, they're bad, and we have funded projects on these roads for tens of millions of dollars because it's already been demonstrated that they have problems. Why would we approve more development on these roads knowing that they've been continually delayed? we've got potentially a decade for some of these roads to be implemented. Why would we approve more development? We should stop it until the roads are widened. And the coordinating committee agreed with it. And they felt that, the municipality should also enact such a policy, because unincorporated Union County only sees 25% of the development in Union County. 75% occurs in one of the 14 municipalities. So if just the county does it, it's not really going to accomplish a lot. Then the next one is about land use planning. It says Western Union County should be all large lot, single family residential. Eliminate all the multifamily apartments and townhomes. That higher density was incompatible with the current development pattern, had too much traffic, too many students, will harm the natural environment. The coordinating committee felt that, listen, the map already reduces it quite a bit, and there are key sections that are funded for road widenings in the relative near future. Therefore, the concerns about that type of development, which there is a place for some of it, is reasonable. But if the rezoning policy goes into effect to hold that type of development off until the roads are widened, then the concerns are addressed. So they didn't change the land use recommendations based on this comment. And they also received a request from the WUMA group and a few residents, but mainly WUMA, to say, listen, people didn't have enough time to respond. Can you extend it? So they said, okay, we'll extend it to January 15th. It's just going to be online, no additional in-person meetings. And our comment form, which I'm going to go to, was revised to include the committee's responses so that the public could say, okay, we heard you. Here's your concerns. What do you think of this? And this does mean that the comment or the process is going to be shifted to the right a month, in that we're going to have to digest the comments from the public and our subcommittees in order to amend the plan to include whatever changes they agree to. So, it'll give you a month longer, but I do think it's going to result in a better document. So I'm going to go to the actual comment page on our overall site, and the first question is, it asks, how did you review the plan? You can choose as many as you want. What's your most important issue to address? And then we have the questions, and you can see like that quarter-cent sales tax for transit type of responses. Only use the money for roads. Use it for the best transportation projects, regardless of mode. And just saying, listen, we want light rail, so money should be available for light rail. Second one is about expanding the transition zones. I agree, expanding it makes sense. I'm mixed. The current extent of them is good, but not more than that. Third, I disagree. Any development should be annexed into a municipality. And lastly, just saying, kind of a property rights perspective. Listen, we have a plan for the county. If I want to develop in the county and the county has a plan and I'm consistent with it, I should be able to rezone and develop in the county, not have to annex. Transportation, in terms of that rezoning policy, yes. The first one says I agree with that. Second one is, well, it's really the houses that are causing the problem. We have a tax base mismatch in this county. We have too much of our tax base on residential. We should allow commercial and industrial rezonings, but not residential. And the last one is, it's not the developer's fault that Providence Road is being delayed. So they should be allowed to continue under the current rules. Next one's about multifamily. It's about whether it should be in the land use map or not. First one says, yeah, I agree with the coordinating committee. It's really about transportation, and as soon as those roads are widened, it's going to be fine. The second one is, it shouldn't be in unincorporated Union County. High density should be inside of municipalities. And the last one is, I don't care if it's in a municipality or not. There shouldn't be any high density there shouldn't be any high density residential in Western Union County. It should only be large lot single family. And then the last one is, do you support it? Yes, somewhat, or no. And then we ask the demographic questions. What township do you live in? How long have you lived here? How old are you? Then you hit submit. And I was kind of worried that we were going to get comment period fatigue, but I have been very pleased with the response over the last 2 weeks. We still have 3 days left, and we have over 200 responses, meaning we have doubled the responses compared to the first comment period. So that's great. And so I'm really looking forward to getting that completed this week. We are going to digest the results. We're going to wrap it up and present the recommendations to the coordinating committee 2 weeks from today. They will make a recommendation on what final changes they want to have made to the plan based on this comment period. And we will then tweak the text in the plan based on these changes. It will be reviewed by all the committee members in early to mid-February. And then if everything goes well, at the end of February, the coordinating committee will approve their plan. And when I say their plan, it still has to get reviewed by the planning board. They'll make a recommendation, and the county commissioners could adopt it completely as presented. They could say, that's nice, we accept these recommendations, we're going to make some changes. It's up to them. But this is the result of the citizens, the 60 plus citizens who have worked for a little more than a year on this process. So happy to answer any questions you guys may have. I highly encourage you to comment through this site. It's easy to get to. You just go to the Union County webpage, which is Union County 2050. You just Google it, it'll come up. This is the page on the county website. Click here to go to the site and provide your comments.
Well, I think you answered one of my questions as far as, I think you think there was a good response because we had 200 more. Personally, I think it was driven by WUMA because I think we took it back to our individual municipalities and said, hey, put another notification out there to our residents to say, hey, this is your chance to speak up. So, but do you feel the county commissioners are comfortable with moving forward on anything, given that what I still think is limited based on the population of, or do you think it's a pretty good idea of, or the commissioners, I should say, not you, or maybe you, if you want to answer for yourself, that it was a decent response, Bjorn?
Well, I mean, the public comment, it's not like we're taking a public referendum on it. We are getting public comment, getting the wisdom of the community to help inform the coordinating committee as they make the decisions. The county commissioners have heard all of the strategies that were presented to the public in November and December. Some of the recent ones, such as the moratorium on rezonings, that is new, and I don't know how they're gonna respond to that. I don't know how the municipalities will respond to that if they say we'll do it if the municipalities do. I truly don't know. But none of these strategies, other than that, are a surprise. You were at the August summit that we had that was very well attended by the municipalities. I felt that we really had a critical mass of support between the public, the municipalities, and the committee members regarding these recommendations. So from a staff perspective, we feel it's pretty broad support, and it's not going to be a surprise when it's presented to them in the spring.
So the other question I had is, if a developer's in like a donut hole, do you think of a municipality? Do you think in general, would you say commissioners are open to allow municipalities to enforce their ordinances or be open to that, or would they just, is that something that, because a lot of times we're not in sync. We're a little off on what a municipality, maybe what Union County would think from that standpoint, but are commissioners open to working with municipalities and allowing us to step in in a situation where you have a donut hole and a developer wants to develop a parcel of land?
Well, there's two ways it can go. We get rezonings. People come in and talk with us at the staff level just to figure out the process and get the lay of the land. And sometimes we'll advise them to go to the municipality because they're going to get a better read for what they're proposing than they would in the county. And then the commissioners and the public never see that. It either dies because they don't want to go into the municipality, or it goes into the municipality. Others get denied by the county, and maybe they go into a municipality. But if the commissioners are consistent with their message, then presumably they'll never have to see them. They will just automatically go to the municipality because they know how the plan's being implemented here, and things are very consistent and clearly laid out. That's our goal. We don't want to be confusing for property owners. We want them to have a predictable process because they do have a right to develop their land, but according to locally adopted plans. And that's why these transition zones exist, is to help close these inconsistent development patterns and for communities that provide services an inefficient delivery pattern.
And refresh my memory, the coordinating committee members are basically who? Are county and...
They're all residents. They were all appointed by the county commissioners. There are 10 of them, and we have 5 subcommittees. There's infrastructure, agriculture, business, citizens, and environmental considerations. So the chairman of each of the, or chairwoman from each of those committees, and then 5 at-large representatives that were appointed directly by the commissioners. And they're from throughout the county, and they've done a really good job of weighing these considerations.
Any other questions from the board or council members?
Nope, I'm good.
Bob?
I don't. No, sir.
Assume you're good, Jamie? Well, I appreciate you, Jorn, taking the time to come in and explain it. I think it's good. And another reminder that we'll probably put another push to get on that website and respond while you can within the next couple of days. We'll give that direction, I'm sure. So,
Yes, I appreciate it.
and again, thank you for your time and all this information. Good stuff.
Thank you. All right, take care.
All right,
Thank you.
bye-bye.
Yeah, I would definitely, let's say,
We can get it out again.
put it out
tomorrow
again
morning.
tomorrow with the, like, make sure we've
Specific
got
things.
the direct link there,
Mhm.
kind of I think the one headline that we put out, in terms of, density got a little more reaction.
We've
than-
done it since with the new headline.
Yeah,
Right.
that's
Now, maybe with the headline, now's your chance to be heard.
final chance,
Now's your final chance to be heard.
yeah. And so,
Okay.
yeah.
I think that's a good directional thing. Okay. Moving on, next up, we have reports and updates, administrator's report.
So just wanted to go over 2 things real fast. Number one, we had an LGC call earlier this week for the Village Hall financing. Call went well. It's our first green light to proceed with our application with them, which is scheduled to take place in April. So just want to let y'all know that.
Wait, say that again?
So our LGC call, it's a pre-application hearing. We have to, any municipality that obtains debt for more than 5 years or for real estate purchases has to get approval from the local government commission.
But that's not until April.
That's their meeting is not until April that we are scheduled to go forward with our application.
Okay.
From there, they will approve or deny our installment finance purchasing for Village Hall.
Is that appropriate timing for what you guys need? Yeah.
It is, yes.
Okay.
And we're in good shape, right?
It's a good call.
Second thing is our audit is finished. We're wrapping up the final pieces to it, so that presentation will take place at the next work session. Everything looks good with the audit. I don't know if we had any findings other than internal controls, which is something that we always have, being a small municipality. I do want to report that we are proposed to put back at around $500,000 in the fund balance, which is a pretty big deal. 200 of that is the check that we got back from DOT, but that is a large amount of money that we will be putting back in the fund balance this year.
Great.
They will report all that at the meeting, and that's all I have for the commissioner report.
Any questions from anyone?
Nope.
All right. Moving on, planner's report, CRTPO discretionary funding update.
Alright, great. So, Mayor, you're familiar with this, but in December, the CRTPO did vote to approve our project for Marvin Loop Trail as one of the projects that was approved for discretionary funding, which means that they'll be giving us a little over $1 million in order to fund our trail network in this area here. That is a 60% match. So we have to put up 40%, which is around $600 something thousand. But of course, we have several years to figure out where we're going to get that money from. A lot of it maybe from other grants, and some of it maybe from some of the property owners here. But once again, that a lot of the competitiveness of that grant was due to the proposed Marvin Heritage District. So, I mean, again, no pressure, but if we don't do the district, then, we'll probably not get the money for the trail network, because that was, what they would consider a regionally impactful project. But in any case, that's great news. We got $1 million to build our trails, so really excited to see that, through.
Rohit, with that process, whenever we're ready to get started, is CRTPO going to help us with getting easements
Yes.
and on all of that, or are they just like, here's $1 million, you guys go figure it out?
You mean, will they offer actual resources in order for us to get that? Well, I don't know the answer to that question.
Let's find that out.
Yeah.
That's going to be a lot of work.
That was a question, I want to say that either Mayor Polino had asked at one of the meetings or something, and they said that they had some resources more that we could utilize and tap into. So I felt like they were going to hold our hand through that process.
Well, let's find out who that person is or what group that is within CRTPO or the state or the county, whoever it is, because I know that that's going to be a big deal and probably something that as we, continue pushing this process forward, that we need to keep on top of, so that we're not all of a sudden, we're 4 years down the road and, we've got to, get all this land and whatnot.
Since they're putting up 60% of the money, I'm sure it's in their interest to see that this project is progressing on schedule as well.
Well, let's hope so, but let's find out what the process is.
Yeah, will do.
Okay.
Okay.
So that funding comes when?
That's a reimbursable grant. That's a great question. So we do have to spend the money in its entirety, and then they will reimburse us when we give them the receipt.
Okay.
So we will almost certainly have to take out a construction loan for that. But of course, then we pay off the loan with the money that we get from
And
them.
you can't use Powellville, I assume, right?
We can use Powellville for portions of it.
Yeah. we
We're not
can-
going to have that much though.
Right, Powellville could potentially fund
But
part of our
I'm
match,
just
yeah.
thinking in terms of
Powellville funds towards it.
opportunities for, because there's a lot of things on the plate that, things that
Right.
we're gonna learn, that we'll learn later in this meeting that we've gotten wind of that may end up ripe for, bond type things and stuff, consideration of bonds, so. But, we'll get there and we gotta see what it's gonna cost, but obviously there's a plan. I assume we have, to your point, easements, and then you got actual construction of it, which.
Right, and the CRTPO has also broken it down into those 3 phases, the right-of-way acquisition, engineering, and construction. And so we know that we'll be setting out a certain amount of money for each of those 3 phases and how much that would cost.
And the total was, again?
The total for the project is 1.7 million, that they'll be giving us a little over 1 million, and that we would be matching a little over 600,000.
Okay, so total of 1.7 with
Yeah.
1 million coming from CRTPO.
Right.
Okay, that's the state more than anything, or is it CRTPO, or is it state? Funds.
That's federal funds.
Federal funds, okay.
Right. CRTPO is helping us acquire that.
Okay. And just for those listening in, we applied for that application, our vision of what we see Marvin being with the trails and all of that, and we were, how many other municipalities applied for that, do you know?
I remember that there were about 30 or so projects, and most of them did win that discretionary funding. I'd say about, remembering the list, about 75% of them did get the funding. So
Good.
only the bottom, I guess, quarter of applicants didn't win.
But the bottom line is you gotta ask for it.
Right.
You gotta go in and ask and apply for it. We did
Yeah,
that,
it was
so.
a very thorough process. It took a lot of work. And I guess that's a good opportunity to mention that one of our PR&G board members Dan Wilson did also put in a lot of work, just volunteer to help us with this application, and definitely could not have done it without him as well.
And he's on the planning?
He's
Parks,
on the
Rec, and Greenway.
Parks, right?
Yeah, Parks
Dan
Board.
Wilson, okay. And I think we even got a comment from a former mayor.
We
kinda
did.
Congratulating us on that, you know, because that stuff's a big deal for a community like this, so, especially with the low tax rate that we continue to have, so thank you for that, so. And then next up is the Marvin Gardens?
Yes, I just wanted to give you guys an update that we've, Chaplin's created a deed of ownership, and it's kind of in their attorney's court now to come back with a executed transfer of the deed. So we don't have ownership of the park yet, but we are in progress for that.
Okay.
So let's see. So for the next item, I'm going to pass this out. Do you want to just pass it around? So for the committee, the Marvin Heritage District Strategic Plan Committee, we're working with a consultant, right? The Development Finance Initiative, DFI, and they've asked us to come up with design factors for which they will plug into their model, and then they will determine from both a developer's perspective and the community's perspective whether this district, this like low density district idea is feasible. But in the meantime, there was also a council direction to kind of create a draft list of commercial uses, and so I also asked this committee to vote from among a list of commercial uses, and I filtered out the uses that did receive a majority support, and then a couple that they voted on a case-by-case basis to also include if it was one short than a majority. So on the back of the first page is where they did vote to recommend this list as a draft list of allowable commercial uses. It's in the bottom half of the first page, the back, and so I'm requesting any action today, but in the near future, with DFI's report coming to you, determining whether a low density district would be feasible, and also considering these low intensity uses, keep that in the back of your mind when deciding whether we will go forward with this district.
What are the no yeses?
Those are the 3 out of 7 votes, so we talked about those one by one, and then we said would they include it or not. They said no, they don't want a bar, and no, they don't want a post office, but yes, they would be fine with the music sales store, and yes, they would be fine with
The rental space.
yeah, the non-public rental spaces. And then they put the qualifier that should be small. So this just happened last week, so I didn't get a chance to put it in the packet. But just kind of take this home, mull over it. Obviously, just to clarify for everyone, this is a draft. There's nothing, nothing that the committee does is like a final decision. Obviously, every decision comes from council. And this is just something, you can think about, and then you can talk about, you can remove or add things to this list at your discretion. But that's kind of the resolution of that request you gave me a few months ago to come up with a draft list of allowable commercial uses.
Okay, cool.
Next week. Oh yeah, and I'm gonna also provide this list for planning board's review next week.
It's a cat cafe.
The cafe where cats hang out.
Now, what is it really?
That's kind of what it is.
Yeah, it's
People that like cats going and
Stop.
like hang out with them.
Really?
yeah, there's one in Charlotte. It's a concept where like the bookstore or a coffee shop or something, but they also have cats and you can adopt them. Nobody voted for that, but
Oh, shit.
You know, the good news is only 0 of 7 voted for it, so. I mean, I'd like to think we're a little progressive, but I'm not sure about the cat.
They had a very good
I'm on
discussion
record
for
for that, I'm not a
that.
cat
Yeah.
fan. For those of you cat lovers.
they did have a
Okay.
very good discussion on this list, and they felt very good about what they ended up agreeing on.
So basically, the very bottom of this back page is 6 of 7 said, for instance, restaurant, dine-in, something
Yeah.
like that. Okay.
And I included the whole list because it's important to
See what they started with.
Right.
to see what they decided for in the context
From.
of what they did not decide
Yeah.
that they wanted.
All right, well, that's interesting. I mean, and this is a nice mix, I think, what we put on this board. A nice mix of people, residents and stuff, which, you know, which is good, which I think is what, it's pretty much in line with what the survey said too, I think. A lot of it, I believe.
Yeah, I want to put
They're
that.
a group.
Stop me anytime. I mean,
They're a good
I'm
group.
just-
You,
I'm
you
just-
can anytime.
I'm just confused by this, by the public comment that we've had before. And off the top of my head conclusion is, there's the squeaky wheel gets the oil. And the small majority is the one that's, because when I look at this, uses which the majority voted, everyone that made a public comment said threw up on every one of those. So who are we to listen to? I'm all for listening to the constituents, but when I look at this is contradictory to what everyone raised hell about.
Just a few. I mean,
But what I'm saying
Right.
is, who are we listening to? Are we listening to as a council person, am I listening to 50 of 7,000? Or am I listening to, 6,950 of 7,000? Do I listen to this group? We've created a committee, and we've had the hell beat out of us for even the thought of any of these.
right.
So, again, I'm all open for committees, and I'm all open to listen to constituents. I'm all open to, but this just muddies the water even more. We walked in with muddy water, and this just muddies it even more.
You think so?
Absolutely.
I actually am, I would look at this saying, well, when you sit down in committee level,
Right.
and you're listening to everybody and people put in somewhat of a, let's call it a civil environment where they're all putting their opinions of what would be great to have down here, and that they come up with this based on the list of people who we appointed, and we just opened it up to the whole community. I don't think anyone who applied, there was all different types, residents and stuff, who, I know some of them are pretty vocal to begin with and stuff, but
I got it, but again, you've got the people, we formed a committee, they come back with this. If tomorrow I went back and said, hey, I think, I'm for a fitness studio, I'm gonna get the hell beat out of me.
Well, don't
By-
you think anything that we pick, we're gonna get the shit beat out of us?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Listen, this does not, for me, it's just gathering information.
Right.
But we're throwing darts in the dark at all this stuff. I mean, I gotta be honest with you. This is great information, this is great to have. But I guess my challenge to the council, to everyone, is to say, we need to start, the good news is staff has put together a great timeline for Village Hall, and our focus is set on Village Hall and, all this other stuff. But when we start getting beyond Village Hall, it doesn't deter what I'm thinking. I appreciate the information.
What do you think of, okay, so we're doing what we think is right from a council level and saying, look, let's form a committee to say, residents, here's your time to come in and talk about all these things we talked about. They don't necessarily have to take the heat. Because us just mentioning it, to your point, gets us in a lot of trouble, just mentioning it. Or if it's broached on another level, then it gets misinterpreted and put out on next door neighbor and stuff. My question to you would be, if we were to present something like this on our website and say, look, we have a committee of residents that met for they're called the Heritage District Strategic Planning Committee. They had a list of things, and here's what they voted on. Now it's time for comments, and leave something where, the residents can, it's almost like putting a survey out without having to spend the money, I think, and then just let's wait and see what kind of comments we get back. Because I kind of like what, I think I'm on the same page that they're on.
I do too. Listen, I'm just throwing out the challenge, because I guess I'm agreeing with you. And what I was going to say is, we have to start creating the path as a council to get as much input without just going to what you can't do is just say, these are things that we're going to do or not do, because you're going to you can't vote on it.
Right.
Let's vote this time on each individual one. You can't do that. That's what they vote us in here for. But what we have to do is create a path. And again, I think it starts by putting it out on the website or putting it out on social media and saying, this is the results of our committee. But structure a plan to go around what we're going to do. We're going to do this, this, and this. Obviously, a public forum doesn't work for us. I mean, we had, 20 people, 30 people?
You had 40, 45 roughly.
Oh, boy.
Well, that was the first shot, too. First time.
20 in person.
Right.
In COVID times.
So, again, I think our challenge is to create the path to utilizing this information and getting it out to everyone, to start getting a more robust conversation, a more robust set of facts or set of things that we can move forward with as a council.
And I think this is kind of the first step, right? Because you've got to make uses and what is it called? I can't think of the name. What do we do for over at Marvin Gardens? It's the
Permitted use table?
Yeah, but what's the whole thing called?
Conditional zoning district.
Yeah, so within that zoning district, we have to have permitted uses and things like that. So I feel like this is the first step towards that. And I absolutely think, I love the idea of putting it on the website, putting it out on Nextdoor, putting it wherever we put it, and say, hey, here's what the strategic committee came up with. And I would put all of this, I would put their original list, I would put what it got whittled down to, and then I would say, send us an email and tell us what you think. And then just start gathering the information.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, if it helps the conversation, me distributing this list to you is not a commitment or
No.
a request.
Right.
No, I think you did a great job.
Yeah, this
But
is exactly what we want.
But as I look at this is completely, totally different with what, again, I would say a small majority of people
Who happen to be vocal.
voice their opinion. This is completely contradictory to that. So, and we have a wide array. So again, what I don't want, I want to listen to every single constituent as a council member. But I also am going to use this information to a point where we can't just let the squeaky wheel always get the oil. And if it's, if we can gather up enough information so when someone comes back and says, because everything we do gets criticized and it's pulled in 20 different directions and it's politicized. But when it does get politicized, I'm fine with it, because then I can say, here's the information. We put together this information. I'm sorry you fell on the other side of it. And it could be that of the council, we vote and it's, 60-40, 20-80, whatever the case may be, but we got the information that we can hand back to the squeaky wheels and go, you know what?
We did our due diligence.
We did our
Yeah.
due diligence.
So this is the starting point.
Yeah.
So I say put it out there, let's see what the residents think, and let's
Sure.
get it out ASAP,
Okay, got it.
and let everybody, give everybody an update on where we are.
Great job on that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
this is the
And,
stuff.
and good job to the, committee.
Committee too, yeah.
Yeah, and thanks to the committee for doing that, but all of this, I think we're putting we're paving the road for, even the timeline stuff on Village Hall. And all this stuff, we've put together a path to where we need to be and to a decision point.
In the end, this comes down to messaging. I remember a time when there was a very vocal individual for the town that was against pretty much anything, but went a couple of years back to that Terry Shook meeting that was at his things, and I was even pumping the brakes, but there were planning board there, and this resident came up to me, and she would, I don't know if she's listening, she sometimes listens in, came up to me and says, we need to figure out a way that this message doesn't get lost. Meaning, so the message that's coming from all of these individuals, and remind them when we put this out there, you've got opportunities through email, and guess what? You got opportunities twice a month to come talk to us individually. We're sitting here in the evenings or in the thing. Last meeting we had, zero people showed up. So, again, it goes back to the squeaky wheel, but to your point, Jamie, we're gathering as much information as we can. We're going to put it out there. We're going to encourage people to continue to go to the Coffee with Council and let us know what you think about it. And I think this is just great information. It's a good first step, and great job with you guys on that. Thank you.
Yes.
Bob, anything?
My first comment is that, just for the sake of audio, I could hear Jamie, I can hear you loud and clear, and I can hear Kim loud and clear, but when Rohit or Christina were talking, I could barely hear them, so if you could project more towards the speaker, you're loud and clear. I agree with the fact that this is a first step. It was interesting to see, and I think the next step is to get it out to the masses. So, we're saying the same thing. I think the fact that we're out there communicating the way that we are now, I think we can get a lot of good feedback out of this, and then I think take that information and then use it for maybe the next town hall, or if it's in, depending upon the timing on that, and present it once again and say, hey, this is what the public kind of capitalized on, the framework that we started off with. We're in the right direction.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, thank you. All right.
I do have one more planner report item,
Okay.
which is that I got an invitation for the Avonton apartment complex rezoning. They are going to be holding a public input meeting. I have the project, so give me a second. Yeah, I'm gonna pull up a map. Give me 1 second.
You really cannot talk and chew gum at the same time.
And
He knows
just
he
make
can't.
sure, Rohit, you're talking more to the speaker, so everybody can hear you.
Right. I have to look at
Louder.
the I have to look at the screen to navigate the computer, and then
Yeah.
turn away to talk to the speaker. So.
Got you.
Right, so the Avonton is the apartment complex proposal. It is in Union County, but it is adjacent to Marvin and Weddington. It is a proposal for 310 apartments in 19 acres, roughly, for a density of 16 units per acre. And so since it's in the county, we don't have any regulation about it. But I've been keeping tabs on that project, and they're going to be having their first public input meeting on January 27th at 6:30 p.m. It's completely virtual. So I just wanted to inform you, the council and the public about that. and also request a consensus to put out that information to the public.
Absolutely, I think that's something we need to let the community know. This is in your neighborhood. It's not ours, but it's Union County. This is a perfect reason to also respond to the, like right under responding to what Bjorn presented for as far as 2050 planning. Right below that, put this information about, hey, this is what they'd like to do. I think that would be well attended.
Rohit, is it specifically where your cursor is? Where? Okay, I see your cursor.
I dropped the pin there on the map.
Oh, I see it. Okay, yeah, it's okay in gray and white.
Yes,
Okay.
the gray pin that I put there, that's where that apartment complex is proposed.
Okay.
Where is it?
Thank you.
I don't see it. It's by Otterville.
It is, it's right there, that
Yeah,
gray pin.
Oh, okay, right, okay. Wow.
So,
Wow, I was at that property, it was just to the left of that. What is that? Is that part of Marvin right there where you're at?
to the left,
Thank you for
Yeah.
doing that.
to the left of this is actually in Weddington. To the right of it is Marvin Gardens and Weddington Chase, which is in Marvin.
What's to the south?
Also Marvin.
That's,
Directly to
Wow.
the south?
Directly to the south is unincorporated, but down here, down here is Marvin. You know, down here is Marvin, and over here is Marvin. This is unincorporated, and this is Weddington, and then this is unincorporated, and this is Marvin again. That's kinda how that-
back to the question, who are we?
Where are we?
Where are we?
Okay.
See why my wife
Oh,
was
that's
confused of where.
It's a
Are we
little
in Marvin?
outdated.
Yeah, it is outdated.
Makes no sense.
Right.
But that would be something, wouldn't we appeal to Weddington to allow us to,
Yeah, and we already have the,
didn't we just give them something?
yeah, we have, yeah.
Yeah, that's in Weddington's annexation area.
Okay.
But don't we have the ETJ with them or whatever, the annexation, not
The annexation agreement, yeah, so that would be, I mean, it would be in their annexation area, but that is if Weddington annexed the property.
Right, but don't we, oh yeah, because it's not in, wait, is that in Weddington?
No.
It's in unincorporated Union County.
Yes, yes,
So we have to appeal to the county commissioners.
yes. And it does happen to be one of the high-density housing areas in their land use plan, so.
And it also happens to be on Providence Road.
Right.
That is not gonna be widened for another 10 years.
So you're adding potentially 1,200 cars to that intersection.
Oh, God.
And the reason I said 300 units is 2 people per unit, 2 cars, 2 trips per day. If you do the math real quick, that's what I have. And it's like, is that what
But-
we are?
But are we not, is 16 not been delayed
It has.
It has.
Isn't it like 24?
for like 10 years?
Right.
Hello?
Yeah.
Anybody?
It is.
Yes,
It is.
yes.
Yes, it has been delayed, and
I
adding
mean-
that kind of, you put 300 units there.
So per their 2050 plan, if it gets approved, they said that one of the options is to not approve any additional development until these delayed projects get finished, which would be good,
Well,
right?
Right, but that's part of the upcoming not yet adopted plan.
Yep, that's what I said.
Right.
and make sure that the people that are, the residents that are affected in that area certainly.
I think it needs to go to every.
Oh, I do,
every single
but
resident.
a specific reach out, because they may not get that information via the way we send it out, but a specific reach
Well-
out to the HOA board and saying, hey, heads up.
I would tell everybody, because you've got people from this side of Marvin going down Newtown Road, across Providence to get to the other side of the county. Like, that's gonna be a mess. And also, I think WUMA, you need to get this out to your WUMA people, because you need every single municipality that's, you know, in that, sending resolutions to the county,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, that's what they've been doing so far.
You putting me to work.
Yes.
Didn't they already approve a resolution to oppose?
Not this one.
They're doing individual resolutions for each
Yeah.
of these projects. You guys will see one from Wesley Chapel at your next meeting.
When is that, uh,
27th?
public hearing?
Yeah, it's the 27th at 6:30 p.m.
Where is it?
Zoom.
It's on Zoom.
Okay.
I don't know if I don't know if WOOM is gonna have a meeting. I have to check with when the next meeting is, but you'll probably,
It's probably the same. I think it's the same day as our work session. It's usually that day,
okay. When is our work session?
28.
28th.
Oh, it's right before.
Right here. And of course,
I'll send it a letter out, a note out.
I can send that link out as well, but that's what I got. January 27th, 6:30 p.m. Here's the link.
So do
I'll
me
send it
a
out.
favor, if you send it to me and then I will forward it to our WOOMA, because we don't have a meeting at WOOMA until the day after. I think our meeting is the 28th.
Right.
So giving them a heads up that this is coming, they all have their own way of communicating with their residents. This is a good way to do that. So.
And then you guys do another scary header. Seriously, that's the only way we're getting people to,
I'll write scary hitter down.
yeah, write scary header, because otherwise people don't respond.
So yes, can I get a consensus for that? Because I would really like to put that out.
Yes.
Is everyone fine with
Oh,
that?
yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes, yes. Bob, you good with putting that out?
I am, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
And it's 300 apartments, right?
Let's go back.
Yes.
That's scary.
310, it says it right there. Go back to the letter, it says it.
Oh, yeah.
There's the design.
Newtown.
When they make it like pretty.
Yeah.
310.
And they got a tree save area.
Ain't that lovely?
Anything you put a tree save area in should pass.
Yep. We're kidding. That's sarcasm. That's
Can you,
sarcasm.
Rohit, can you zoom back so you can see the whole thing again?
That is a big area.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's 20 acres basically. You know, it's saying, wow. Huh.
Publix would love that.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot more people shopping right there. But
I'm
that's not who we are.
just giving thought to the new apartment complex that is kind of, you know, at the end into Waxhaw. You know, you enter into Waxhaw and it's over on the right-hand side. That's a lot of people on 16.
Yep.
Wow.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is.
And not being widened.
Suggest moving it south.
Okay.
All right.
Anything else from it?
Thank you.
That's all for my
Thanks,
report.
Rohit.
All right, let's get that stuff out tomorrow, and then
Yeah.
I would do a once a week reminder. Wednesday, next Wednesday, and then the day of the meeting,
Once a week reminder. Got it.
which will be 3 times.
Yeah. Okay. Next up, we have road report. Christina.
So I have a quick update. I've been in communication with DOT over the last couple of weeks. Can you hear me well? Can't see me, Mark, at least?
I can hear you. Thank you.
You can put it over
So
here.
been in contact with DOT over the last couple of weeks and had some bad news projected about the roundabout in which they had proposed an increase in the right-of-way cost. Worst case scenario, it's about $340,000 overage of what they're projecting. Best case scenario, it's about $100,000. The representative from DOT is going to come to the work session to give you a presentation on the new agreement that's needed. And if y'all have any questions at that point in time, Sean Epperson will be here to answer any questions. Timeline is still slated for 2022. But
When will he be here?
The
Work
28th.
session.
Oh, work session. Okay.
And that's all I have to report on roads. There's some items that are in the agenda that pertain to roads, which is curb and gutter, and we'll get to those items in the agenda tonight.
So 300. How much is
40,
it?
340, worst
340
case.
worst case. And
100.
we're on the hook for half,
Correct.
right?
No, that would be 340 that we would have to pay.
Oh,
And that's not including any overage in the project when it's completed.
Right. So just to be clear for those listening in, we have an agreement with DOT to do the roads.
Correct.
to do the roundabout.
And God knows when it's gonna get done because there'll not be another hurricane or whatever.
Don't speak it.
I mean, it could be anything, but that's why we're not getting this done, because of COVID and the hurricane. So we go to put that in and say 2 years down the construction, we're on the hook for 50% of the overages, and we got money back, but we have to pony up, how much again?
50%.
Like, what,
No, what is our participation to
220
that?
is what we're currently under agreement with.
Okay, so we give them 220.
Correct.
And then say the $1 million project, for making numbers simple, becomes 1.5 million. That 500,000 overage is split between us and DOT, so that's
Correct.
another 250. On top of that, now you're telling us that in this process, we've learned that the easements, right-of-ways of getting it could expand, and it could.
Yeah, just right of way is looking at an additional 340 deficit of what we need.
For us.
Yes. That's the worst case scenario. DOT is looking to get what's called CMAQ funding, which is based off of emissions control. So they think that they have the good possibility to get it, but they're not 100% sure. If they get it, we're looking at $100,000 additional cost in right of way, the way they have to do the match, the project match. If they don't get it, we're looking at another 340 that we have to give up just for right of way.
So that being said, and all those numbers and these delays, and again, I've reached out to individuals that just got elected on a higher level than we are. I think we need to put on our agenda in the upcoming work session is, if we keep delaying this, that project could go out another couple years, and another couple years the cost is going to be certainly a lot more. Prices always go up. But if we're able to do that sooner than later, the better for us, and rather have an IOU from DOT saying, hey, we're going to get this done because we're going to fund it on our own. And what I'm saying by doing that is, let's put on the agenda for the 28th, maybe consideration of a bond for our town, to consider a bond, and let's get a list together, talk about all the different things we want, so we can get it in today's dollars. And I know there's people out there, and usually, from an investment standpoint, they're one of the safest investments out there for people that are in the investing world is government bonds, because they typically are able to pay. And you do 10, 20-year payback, whatever it is, but we can start looking at that. I know we talked about it before, but I know we also have some contacts that can maybe help us and guide us with that. If we can put that on, if you guys are all right with that.
No, I think it's great.
We can do that.
Okay. All right, so we'll keep moving along and just put that on for discussion then. So. All right, that's all you had, Christine?
That is it.
All right, thank you. Next up, we have deputies report. Mr. Montgomery, how are you?
Good, how are y'all?
Very good. Happy New Year.
Any questions, comments, concerns?
Yeah, one news is usually good news, right? And there's not a lot of reports from other than hang up calls, if that's the worst thing. Accidents. Hit and run. Any questions from council?
Nope.
No,
Thank you.
Alarms laws are they going down? Do you find the alarms laws, are they starting to go down, or are they staying about the same?
It's all about the same.
Okay. We still finding them? Do we know? What's the fine process? After so many, they get a fine?
After two.
After two, okay. All right, well, thank you again for your service. and
Yes,
stuff.
thank you.
Thank you, be safe.
Thank you.
Sir.
All right, moving on, we have planning board chair report. Mr. Jones, may not be available. Any update from Bob?
I was unable to attend that meeting, so I'm gonna rely on Rohit. I did talk to John a little bit, but Rohit might be able to fill in.
I'm gonna pull up the agenda to jog my memory if anything interesting happened.
Couple things.
Okay, so eventually Marvin Gardens is looking to put up some welcome to Marvin signage. on that retaining wall that's in the front corner for the retention pond. They will be coming to have a pre-application meeting soon, but they're not ready for that yet. But they did discuss it with the planning board because they would be eventually kind of the first step of another text amendment to allow that sign.
And that's right on the corner?
Yeah, at the corner of Newtown and Providence. You've probably seen that brick wall. That's where it's kind of like a blank slate there, so they're thinking of putting some welcome to Marvin signage there.
Cool.
And we did just start the design review board preliminary conversations for Village Hall that will be discussed more in depth at next week's planning board meeting. Everything else is stuff we've already talked about in here, so or we'll talk about very soon.
Just out of curiosity, and this is for those that maybe be listening or whatever, regarding pools, because we have on the consent agenda approvals of public comment coming up, or public hearings.
Call for public hearings.
Call for public hearings. If I'm Joe Blow, resident of Marvin, and I want a pool in my backyard, but it goes beyond, it needs, what do you call it?
Yeah, conditional use permit.
Conditional use permit. For those that want to start from the very beginning, conditional use permit, process real quickly is it goes to you, you review it, then it goes to the planning board.
Yes, and they review it, and then it goes to council. You call for a public hearing, and the public hearing takes place in the beginning of the next meeting, and then you deliberate and decide on it.
That whole process.
Yeah.
Best case scenario, because I know we get a lot of people that just think they can, and for most they can, because they can put it in their backyard, but if it requires a conditional use, and you'll learn that through the permitting process. But that whole process, if they have conditional use, is about
2 months.
2 months.
Best case.
Best case, worst case,
Is
depending
3 or
on
4
meetings.
months.
Yeah.
3 or 4 months.
3 or 4 months, okay. So if those of you who are planning pools for the summer and want to be operational, I would say, you know,
Get a head start.
get a head start and
Get it out.
understand, do you need a conditional
get
use
started
permit
in the
or
fall.
not? So
Right.
I hate to see those individuals that come in front of us and it's a conditional use and they think they can just, you know, it's just going to happen. There are processes and there are reasons we do that, so
Yeah.
for people. Okay, very good.
But typical pools don't require that. It only
Yeah.
requires
Right.
a conditional use if your
Right.
pool is
If-
in a side yard or if it abuts a side yard. If you don't know, you can contact our planner. He can look it up and look at your individual parcel and tell you if you need one or not.
Yeah, if you have your plans already drawn out and stuff, you can tell very quickly if it's gonna need a conditional use
Right.
and go through the process. Otherwise, it's usually, we sign off on that, so. Just FYI for those planning ahead, 3-6 months and stuff, so. Okay, that's all we have for planning chair. PRNG chair report.
John's not here, but we're going through most of it later on in the meeting.
Okay, so we'll move that on. So then I have next up is the consent agenda. I'll need a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Next up, we have public hearing. No hearings are scheduled. Next up after that, Village Hall. Discussion of occupancy limits for Village Hall. Christina?
At the last council meeting, there were questions about occupancy limits. Just wanted to break it down. The total meeting room space is at 62 people and the business operation is at 48. So basically you could have 62 people in the meeting room and then have another 48 doing day-to-day business. That's how they've broken it out. Just wanted to let y'all know that. Upon no other questions on that, that's all I have on the occupancy.
And pass it around.
Second item that's coming around the table is in your agenda packets, you'll see a initial site plan of the projected location of Village Hall. However, since we've looked at this at a staff level, what's coming around is an amendment that was made today. It was not made, obviously, in time to put in your agenda packet, so we're looking at the one that I passed around as the most recent one. What you'll see is the building was actually moved a little bit, so it's more parallel to the road than it is the roundabout, how it was originally. And the reason we did that was to save some of the impervious surface which will obviously save on the site plans, and to also leave some space for future development on the right and the left side of the building itself. You'll see there's not much space between the proposed sidewalk and the right-hand wing. However, there's enough space there to pull out maybe another 30, 20 feet to put in 4 separate offices. So we would have 4 office expansion on that side, and then we would have to expand on the other side if we needed more than that.
So what is this dark line?
The dark line is the sidewalk.
Okay.
So there's no way you can turn that building.
If we turn it, we're not going to have room for expansion on both sides, and then we're going to start cutting into the impervious surface, which is going to up the cost of the site work. This is the best way we've been able to generate it based on trying to get under 1 acre of impervious, or I'm sorry, 1 acre of disturbed area, which is going to reduce that site cost. If you recall, the last bid that we had was roughly $700,000-800,000 on site work, which most of that was in relation to the 2 BMP ponds that were required per the disturbed area. And by eliminating the 1 acre of disturbance, we're reducing the site cost dramatically.
So, not to be picky, but if you're gonna kind of tweak it, and that's the farthest we can go, wouldn't it make sense to be absolutely parallel? Because it doesn't look to be parallel with the road, Newtown Road.
Yeah, it does.
We can make sure that it's completely parallel. This is just kind of a first stab.
Yeah. It's
The relocation.
unfortunate, because coming into Marvin, that's what you would see on the original drawings, but now you're gonna get kind of a sideshow. It's not ideal, but if it's saving how much?
Well, I mean, if y'all don't want to make it parallel to the road and you want to keep it the way that it was with the one that's in your agenda packet, we can do that, but we're not going to be able to have expansion on the right-hand side.
Well, then that would look stupid if we expanded on the left and then expand on the right, and the building's gonna be wonky, so then everything's gonna be off. So you've got to turn
Expanding
it.
for what
For
purposes?
future needs.
Additional office
As we
space for
continue
new
to grow.
staff.
Didn't we talk about going up? Can't do it on that, this one though.
No.
The old plans, we were going to expand up because it had an unfinished second story. This does not have a second story, so the expansion would be on the right and the left wings.
I'm fine with turning it.
The way that we've got it turned, again, we would be able to provide 4 offices on the right-hand side and whatever on the left-hand side that's needed. But only 4 offices would be allowed based off of what you see here, the amount of,
So all we gain by going this is 4 offices.
correct, on one side.
Technically, it would be 8 offices because you would do it on both sides. The way that it originally is in our packet, you could only do it on one side, and then the building's gonna be off kilter. It looks stupid. Correct?
Yep. Are y'all okay with making it parallel to the road?
I am.
I'm fine with it. I mean,
And then the only other change that was made here was, you see the sidewalk was initially proposed to run from the back parking lot to the left corridor. We took that out completely and made it go to the front door so that it's more accessible to public to enter in the front if they wanted to do so instead of the back.
Wait, we didn't have a sidewalk in the original one going to the front door?
We did not.
Okay. Yeah, we definitely needed
Wow,
that.
so you had to come through the back
Yeah.
or walk through grass or?
But no, there's nothing
So
coming off
nobody
that
would
side doors.
nobody would ever go through the front door?
Not as the original plans were.
Seriously? Okay.
John got that, John Jones, so thank him.
Thanks, John. Yeah, it definitely needs to go to the front door. And then you guys will, like, staff will have a back door entrance, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And then we have a back entrance for if we did like a farmer's market. Or a trail, or we wanted to leave bathrooms open.
We do have a back. Yes.
Okay.
Is there a consensus on these plans so that I can tell the engineer to move forward with the site plan as you see here, that's the revised version?
I'm good.
Not happy, but I guess I'd rather have the original plan facing that. It just looks better coming in and picking up 4 offices, you know, but it is what it is, so.
That's what we got when we went to that piece of
Property.
So,
Okay.
And
Bob, you good with that?
I'm good with
I
that.
think he's saying
Okay.
yes.
that's all I have on Village Hall. We're still moving forward in the timeline. Like I said, we had an LGC meeting earlier this week. We are currently revising our project manual, which is a very, very lengthy document, requires a lot of work from staff and our engineers. So we are currently doing that right now as we speak, and we are projecting to go out for bid on February 15th. I will tell you that the planning board and I've had one vendor ask me to extend the bid another week or two. We can definitely do that, but it's going to put a hamper on our LGC approval and the timeline that we have established here. The LGC would not allow us an approval without actual bids. So the way that we have the timeline structured, the bid opening is scheduled for the 9th. All of our information back to the LGC has to be submitted to them on the 11th of March for their April meeting. So it would basically push our timeline back another month to a month and a half.
No.
So I have gone ahead and sent out information to 25 vendors today, letting them know that this is coming down the line so that they can start preparing for submitting the bid to kind of give them a head start on things. But just wanted to let you know, if y'all want us to change the timeline, we're more than welcome to do so, but it is going to push us back a month.
I don't.
I'll tell you right now, every contractor I know is busy as ever, and that's not the time you want to necessarily be in the middle of getting bids, but it is what it is. I don't see a problem pushing things back a month. It's just me, because rushing things usually doesn't help things if we're rushing the timeline. I think planning board questioned your timeline too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
That they didn't see it. It wasn't realistic, is what I think I heard. Yes. So I'm open to, if that helps us and stuff. I don't see any benefit from a rushing it standpoint. Again, contractors are, good luck getting one right now for your own house if you want one, but let alone a building and doing that. And usually that comes with a high price tag when they bid, but we'll see what happens.
I did send, like I said, I did send it out today to 24, 25 vendors. I did get 2 responses back pretty immediately that they would be interested in bidding. So I don't know, what purpose that serves for y'all, but if y'all are interested in me extending it, I do need to know, because I need to change my LGC application date. So I probably need to get action on if y'all want to extend it a week or 2.
I've heard from 2 of us, Bob or Jamie.
I don't like
I'm
extending.
with you, Joe. I'm not interested in rushing anything in this regard. Let it, these are interesting times.
Well, Andy's not here. I don't have a vote. So if we were to vote on this,
We didn't hear what Jamie said.
well, we'll see.
I'm okay with not rushing it. I mean, you're talking about a week.
A
Well,
month.
a week for expansion on the bid equates to about a month and a half on our timeline, based off of LGC's meetings.
And based on what the planning board came back with as well, I'm okay with that.
I'm not, but I'm outvoted, so.
Well, we don't have to necessarily vote on it. We're just
Yeah.
getting a consensus.
Well, we need to let Christine know
Christina know,
something.
yeah.
I have to amend my schedule with First Tryon and the LGC, because we've already told them that we were applying in March. We've already worked it out with First Tryon to where everything's scheduled as we've got it projected today. Worst case scenario, if we don't get 3 bids, we have to go out for a rebid anyways. We can go with the original timeline and just hope that we get at least 3 bids. It's really John's
You've
call.
already got 2 that said that they're gonna get it in, right?
Yes,
And you sent it out to,
24 vendors today. And I sent it out this afternoon, so it was pretty late in the afternoon.
So both planning board and one contractor wants an extra week because
one contractor wants
Two-
an extra week?
One,
two
yes.
weeks isn't long enough.
It's 2.5 weeks right now.
2.5 weeks. Is there any chance of bumping that day back?
There is a chance to bump it forward. The
Make it
the
sooner?
opening date is the 15th. If we get the plans back and approved, which we have already started planning for a special meeting for both the design review board and village council if we get the plans back in time. This is worst case scenario, that we don't have plans back. We can also try to get all the bid documents out to the vendors before the 15th if we have that stuff back. But we're all at the beck and call right now of the engineers and our architects. We can do everything in our power to make it out beforehand and to make the bid opening, the construction bids out more than 2.5 weeks on the front end. But if you want to push it back on the back end is where we're going to have to amend our schedule with First Tryon and the LGC. I can call Councilmember Wortman tomorrow and kind of get a poll and a census if y'all want to move it back, and then we can just retouch base for a special meeting if we have to push it up instead of back.
Well, I mean, we're not gonna have anything before the work session, right?
Plans,
Right.
there's a slight chance that we may, but very slight.
But we're not gonna, but if we get the plans back, then you guys can start working on the packet. You don't really need a decision on if we're gonna change the dates until the work session.
Yes, the work session would be okay for us to make those changes.
So let's see what we get done in the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
And still reach out to Andy, see where he's at on this, let us know.
But for purposes of until now, we'll just wait until the 28th to extend the bid.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah. I'm fine.
Okay. You go to that, Kim?
Yeah. But then no, like if you start getting stuff back, then we try to get the packet out before the 15th.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, the design review board does have to look at it before council looks at it, so that puts a little bit of play into the dynamic, but,
They can have a special meeting if they need to.
and we've already worked that out with them, and they are willing to do that, so.
Okay.
That's all I have for Village Hall.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
And that's also site plan too, right? Okay.
Correct.
So next up, we have unfinished business, discussion consideration of petitioning NCDOT for ownership of Newtown Road.
That is me. So this has been an item of discussion for the last couple of months, and we are getting into the final stages of if we are going to pursue this or not. It's going to require, a lot of time from our behalf and our engineers' behalf to get this rolling. It is going to be a major expense once we take it on, so we want to make sure that council is 100% interested in this project before we put a lot more time and effort into this. A lot of questions have been generated about the rating of the roads and the work that would be required to bring it up to standard. At DOT's last rating, which was conducted in 2018, it was 87.5, which is pretty high on their schedule, which basically means for DOT, it's not on their radar anytime soon. Our engineer assessed it in 2019, and it was a 68.4. So I don't know the level of difference that has occurred between that year, but it has dropped substantially within a year based off of those two different standards.
Has DOT been informed of that?
They have, yes.
And they agree with that information or no?
They won't go out, and they're not going to go out and assess it on their own until it's scheduled to go out. So again, we have approached them numerous times about trying to get it resurfaced at their cost. They're not going to do it. It's just not an option for them. If we are interested in accepting it, our engineer estimates about $18,000 for minor work and upgrades, with a major expense of $190,000. There was some questions at the last meeting about the lump sum cost being different based off of linear footage being the same. And the answer to that question is the major versus the minor expense requires more work. So the lump sum cost is going to be more for the major as opposed to the minor, which is why there is a price differential.
And do we have the funding to do the major?
We could probably use Powell funds for that.
Oh, I know we can.
We can
Yeah,
definitely use
money.
POW bill funds to pay for either or cost, but it is going to take away from the road resurfacing schedule that we have planned for our subdivisions that has been previously approved.
That will probably get delayed again.
So as I was looking at this, preparing for this, I'm like, in all fairness, and I'm not saying it to be on the other side, which it sounded like I was on last time, but I'm asking right now is what's the rush? And the reason I ask that is before we have a clear understanding of what's going to go in this corridor, because in the end, we don't know where we're going to be. I hope we see some of these nice developments, but the rush to take it over now is for what reasons? If you put that in a positive, negative spin, it's just us taking over a roadway that goes all the way down to South Carolina, and it puts it on our tab, and we have no revenue base from anything in the corridor. Yes, it will slow traffic down. It's not gonna accelerate, from what we understand so far, the roundabout going in. So I guess I'm just saying, what's the rush to take all this over when it's, in the end, DOTs, that's one less expense until we figure out what this whole corridor is gonna look like once we own roundabout to roundabout. So that's where I'll leave it. I obviously don't have a vote, but it's just, I've never seen a rush to get this part owned. I understand why we want to own it, but owning it now versus a couple years from now when we have a clear understanding or a better understanding of what's going to go in this corridor.
Well, let's say that we never have anything here. I think we should still own it to slow the traffic down, especially if we want to continue to have walkability in the village. And you slow it down, you get the big trucks off of it, you save the physical road. So I think part of the rush is to try to, save, the integrity of the road, even though it's, pretty low numbers as it is. I think the sooner we get that cut off so that it's slower and that trucks can't come on it, it's gonna make this so much nicer to be, in this little.
So you're talking
corridor.
delivery trucks too, or just 18-wheelers?
18-wheelers. Yeah, but which is a lot, and dump trucks.
We can,
Dump trucks.
a couple of other questions that were asked at the last meeting was how much fog seal would help, and when is it applied, and what does it do for the life of the road? So the answer to those questions were that it extends the life based off of, when it's applied. The first time that it needs to be applied is when the very first small cracks start happening. And if it's not done at that point in time, then it's pretty much too far gone for it to be effective. But if it is done at that time, then it will extend the life of the road anywhere from 4 to 7 years, and that 4 to 7 variable is based off of the traffic load and volumes.
So that's a little frightening that you're saying when the first cracks, like in the pavement.
Correct.
I'm seeing that already in Firethorn.
Okay.
And we just did Firethorn. So it's like you're saying we got to go back and consider a fog seal on Firethorn when they haven't even kind of finished that. But I've been down that road because I ride my bike on it, and I look at the road.
So the average life of a subdivision road is estimated around 20 years. The average life of a major thoroughfare, such as Newtown, is estimated at 10 years.
I've lived here for 10 years and this thing's never been paved.
I believe that Firethorn, don't quote me on this, but I believe Firethorn is on not next year's resurfacing schedule, but the following year to do a fog seal. But that would put it back, I think, at least 3 years from the time that it was initially
Which would be
paved.
too late based on what you said earlier, that you got to get right on it, right?
That's according to our engineer, yes.
So then there's no point in doing it. Spending the money.
Well, it's just maybe there's a fail of the people who put in the road to begin with, and said if we're not even a year into this and we're seeing cracks, what's that telling us?
You're going to see cracks, it's going to settle, but I can't answer to how it affects the substrate of the
All right, but
road.
that is not this agenda item. I still think, I'm still all for petitioning. Now, I do understand that you are talking to,
Yeah, I reached out
Some
to David Willis, who just got elected. He is going to reach and talk to Todd, and we're going to try and get some meetings. They do have some people or contacts at a different level than we're dealing with, and he is very well aware of this roundabout, and he said that he thought it should have been done 5 years ago. So I think we've invited him essentially to, and I included another councilman, myself, and you, the administrative planner, whoever wants to join in that meeting, that we can, that they can get a working knowledge, that they can go back to their people at the DOT level. So I would just say let's hit a pause, because within the next couple of weeks now he's going to
Well,
be
because-
drinking from a water fountain, because
Yeah.
I don't think he's even, if he did get sworn in, it was today or just recently. So he's,
Well, the reason that I'm asking is because you talked to him about the roundabout. What I'm hoping is that we can somehow negotiate if, getting Newtown, like having, if they're talking to DOT already about the roundabout, then maybe they can, sweeten the pot. If we're gonna take it over, they can get it up to snuff for us.
exactly. And have an understanding,
kind of
because I think, no offense to the guys at the local level, but if we're presenting to them, hey, we're taking this off your docket from a overall 50,000 foot level, DOT wants nothing more than to get rid of areas that they're responsible for. And if they can turn it over to municipalities, and we're saying, hey, we're not just gonna take this, we want something in exchange for it.
Right.
So,
And
you
So
know.
I'm still all for it, but I don't think we need to do anything until we have a meeting with some,
Okay, and I am in the process, I have
Governmental
contacted
officials.
them, and they're open to, he was supposed to reach out to Todd Johnson and hopefully deal at a higher level than we were dealing with.
And for what it's worth, I did reach out to the district engineer, Travis Presslar, to see if, try to negotiate a little bit before it gets to the point of the roundabout construction. I asked him if, since this whole discussion has come up with an overage needed for our share in the roundabout, if they would be willing to go ahead and resurface at their cost, either now or at the time of the roundabout completion, Newtown Road, and that we would accept it if that was the case. I mean, obviously, we're
what did he
talking
say?
about it. He hasn't responded back, but we're talking about it anyways, but hopefully
It's a
we
good
would-
try, I like it.
we would get it, but
Yeah,
we'll
okay,
see.
all right, cool. I mean, I see we keep moving forward with it, but not fill out the petition yet, because I know it's gonna be a lot of work, but I say keep it on there and let's keep talking about it.
So we can bring it back at the February work session if you think that the meeting will take place with the state representatives in the month of February.
I
Would hope so.
would hope so.
Okay.
Maybe we can even invite him to our retreat,
Okay.
where we could all discuss what we'd like to see or expectations. I mean, that may be a nice invitation for them, and put it on their schedule now. Because right now,
I like
he's
it.
walking in new, so.
So the retreat or the work session?
Retreat.
Well, we have retreat items that's coming up, so we'll talk about that again in just a minute.
Okay.
I asked for his email, but I don't think he has his official government email yet. But, so he may be waiting to send that rather than get personal emails. So, but we should get it once he's sworn in, and please extend that invitation to the
Did I email
retreat.
that to you already?
What's that?
His contact information.
I
Or did I
don't,
email you the?
I don't think you did. Maybe you did. I may have missed it, so.
Oh,
You
okay.
did send me asking him to kind of keep the ball, asking me to keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, and I sent you contact information prior to that.
Okay. All right. I'm dealing with him because I have his personal cell phone, so we just spoke.
We'll
All
talk
right.
about that retreat in just a second.
Okay. So we're basically
We're gonna
We're
table it until
Put a pin in
February.
it.
table, putting it, okay. All right, moving on. Consider approval of road maintenance and acceptance policy.
In response to some issues that Weddington Chase encountered with a vendor, a solid waste vendor, damaging their roads with some paint, council had asked me to look into creating a policy that basically said that we do not address any functional issues. If there's any aesthetic issues, then we're not gonna address them. We would encourage the HOA to do so. If you look at the attached road maintenance and acceptance policy, I did change the title of the policy itself, but if you look on the second page in red is what we've added. This has been reviewed by the attorney, so we're just asking for approval on this if y'all are in agreement with the intent here.
Chaplain, you're good with it?
I am, and it's also consistent with the city code provision that you already approved, because, and I don't think this is my language, I think it was yours, but it uses damage throughout. Roads can still be damaged to function, just like if your car gets rear-ended, it can be damaged but still function, so it's still damaged. So I think we could still enforce the code provision,
Okay.
but as long as it doesn't impact the functionality, we're shifting the burden to the extent people want immediate action to the HOAs and the buddy property owners.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to approve the road maintenance and acceptance policy as presented.
Further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next up, we have discussion 2021 Village Council Retreat.
So Austin is going to pass around the retreat agendas for the last 3 years for the Village of Marvin. Obviously, last year we did something a lot different than what we've done in the past because we had a consultant come in and lead that discussion for us, and we got a lot accomplished in that retreat. We basically did a lot more strategic planning. We went over the mission, the vision, and all that stuff. We also went over the priorities that council had and just various things. We've also included in your agenda packets retreat agendas for other municipalities, just so you can see some of the things that other people have discussed. I will tell you, typically, what I've seen in my history is that most municipalities will let their departments do a presentation on kind of an overview of what their department's doing, what their request would be in the next agenda, the next budget. But just wanted to give y'all some opportunity for input as to what your retreat agenda is going to look like. I think there's been a consensus that we do not hire a consultant to come in to facilitate this meeting for us. And if I'm not mistaken, I do think that we budgeted for one. So we can, do it if y'all want to, but we don't have to. We would just keep that money and let it go back in the fund balance. But
So do you guys have a rough draft, or?
we do not.
Okay.
We wanted to go over anything that y'all wanted to see. If y'all aren't interested in really putting a lot of detail into it, then what I would just do is departmental presentations. We would talk about fiscal trends, potentially text amendments that were needed in planning. We would go over road schedules. We would also go over the CIP. And then we would go over your prioritization forms that y'all are supposed to turn in today.
And then can we just have kind of like a miscellaneous, I don't want to say miscellaneous because that's so open.
Open
broad.
topics?
Yeah, do it open topics so that if something pops up that we can at least,
I did want to let y'all know that I have a clerk's class that week, that entire week, so I will likely not be able to attend, but I'll ensure a staff member is there to take minutes.
Well, I hope every other staff member will be there. I mean, staff needs to be there.
We will be.
It's a Friday, you guys
You're in a
typically.
clerk?
It's my certification course with the School of Government.
Oh, nice.
Pricey and, definitely
Is what
pass
it
on
is.
it.
Okay, so where are we having this?
That's the next item of discussion. Last year we had it at Firethorn. I don't think we had any issues there. We can have it there again if they're available on that date. For ease of letting everyone spread out, we do need a little bit bigger facility than what we have here currently.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. That way, I mean, I cannot sit all day wearing a mask. Like, I'm gonna need to kind of spread out some. Like, I will not be able to. This is hard enough doing it. In these
Do you want your own room? Is that what you're asking?
Kinda.
for? Okay. Well, the only reason I suggested Firethorn is I think number one, especially now knowing that he's not going to be here, Austin. I mean, a lot of times if we do it here or there, right across the street, or right down the hall here, you're dealing with getting the food, lunch, and all that kind of. We probably have our orders in already by that time, but getting stuff, you usually step aside and deal with that anyways. That's one. We're already one down, and having our orders at Firethorn, when we get there, we place our orders for lunch, and just we can kind of do a working lunch if we need to, based on time, and then kind of hopefully knock out everything we need to knock out. But I think it's a nice environment for a full day where you're at least looking out, and they have the facilities for it. So I'd encourage to,
All right.
So is there a consensus that we have it at Firethorn, or would y'all like to entertain another location?
No, I think it's good. That's easy.
Yeah, I'm good for it.
Okay. Do you guys want me to call tomorrow and see if we can?
That'd
And
be
what was the
awesome.
date on that?
The 9th.
19th
And I hate to miss it, but
February,
Wait a minute, what's the 7th?
and we're leaving the 20th open if we have
yeah, that's carryover day.
carryover,
Mhm.
but I don't foresee, unless Mayor Pro Tem gets a little
Those last
chatty.
Oh yeah, you know me. Chat,
Staff-
chat.
Staff will prepare an agenda. If there's anything particular that y'all would like to see that's not a usual thing, then just let me know. But I'll prepare an agenda for y'all to look at the work session. You'll still have some input and time to provide more from the agenda from there, but I just wanted to give you the opportunity if there was anything just y'all wanted to see right now to make sure we get in there.
Do any of the council, can they think of anything right now? I mean, I'd like at least having on there our mission statement, just a quick review. If anyone wants to have a change or tweaking that, that's always good to kind of remind us or why we're here, what our mission statement is or goals. Not that we would spend much time on that because we did last time and I think we got it down pretty good, but it's always good to revisit that. The other thing is the invitation or open invitation to
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay.
David Willis and Todd and anyone else. 5-year plan. Goals and expectations that we would want to see within this year.
I think that's priorities, but I would definitely want kind of an update from department heads.
Yeah, and all those goals and expectations are generated from that non-capital prioritization form, which I'd asked y'all to turn in. I think I've got
One?
3.
You've got one?
I know I've got 2.
I have mine in my purse.
So I just need to get those back, because what we'll do is compile that information in one single format so y'all can look at it collectively.
Okay.
And I'll go ahead and prepare the retreat agenda, and I'll let y'all look at it at the work session to provide additional input. We'll go ahead and look at Firethorn as a location.
I'll
call tomorrow, I'll let you know.
Remind me at the end, I will give you that list and stuff because it was funny because I did it a second time. I had it from last meeting and then I did it again and compared. It was a little off, but that's okay. All right, anything else on that? Thank you. Next up, consider adoption of revised 2021 Village Council meeting schedule.
So this basically changes the date of the budget adoption work session in May to 6:30 p.m. as you all requested. And I took a guess that you would pick Firethorn for the retreat, so that's already on there as well.
Okay, so I need a motion to...
Hold on, I have one. We did not schedule any joint meetings with Planning Board or Park Rec and Greenway.
You guys are going to discuss that at your work session.
We could do that as a special meeting.
Okay. Well, we need to do that, because we didn't do that and put that on there.
But yeah, it's on my list for the work session.
Okay.
All right, with that, I'll need a motion to approve the adopted, changed meeting schedule.
So moved.
Ooh, I'll jump right
Further
in there.
discussion?
Yes.
Oh, he's awake.
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes.
Can we put this in the front of our books?
Mhm. And next time I get your books around, I'll put that in there for you.
Thank you.
Moving on.
Excuse you. Rude.
Discuss and consider adoption of revised fee schedule.
Hey, everyone. Oh,
You're good. You're good.
Here. There you go, Jamie.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
hey, everyone. If you want to look at the attachment, which has, the last time you reviewed this was back in June of 2020. So the first page, I used track changes so you could follow along. I know there's been discussion, Kim, amongst the PRG on some of these fees too. So
Yep.
open to hearing you add content. The sign permit, even though that's red, that's just formatting. The bulk of where you need to pay attention is on the third page. This is where you dropped your parking permits,
Ew.
and then you made increases to cover for that revenue that you've lost under professional access fee. So you have your single day pass, which was originally 20, now it's increased to 50. And that's page 3, Jamie. Okay. And your annual pass, which you originally had at 100, has increased to 250.
Yep.
And then we took off some verbiage above that on the bullet points related to parking passes because that's no longer needed. So the question on the table for you to consider is, if you want to discuss the fee schedule a little bit more, you like it as is. If you like it as is, you can, or like the changes, the amendments, you could adopt the revised fee schedule tonight.
The two, in parentheses, 2 professional passes, what does that refer to? Is that just?
They get 2.
They get,
They get,
2.
When you apply, you literally get 2.
You get 2 for $50.
So you get one for you.
Hold on, if I am a photographer.
Okay.
And I come in and I just wanna come out and take pictures, then I get, for one day, I pay $50 and I get 2 passes, so me and my helper. So I get 2 passes.
okay. And it's as many people, say they are taking a family and the family comes in 4 cars.
Yep,
They're allowed.
That's fine.
That's fine.
yeah.
And
Because
they
we're not,
basically-
because we're not charging parking fees.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, and the reason, so Park Trek and Greenway has gone round and round with this fee schedule. Bob, can you hear me okay? Okay. So, everybody feels like the park should be welcoming. It's something that's, you know, a nice selling point for Marvin. But there are so many professionals there at the park that and our professional passes are dirt cheap compared to how much they charge like per hour. So in order to, one, recoup some of the parking fees that we're not gonna be getting anymore, they wanna raise it. But 2, just to kind of get a little bit more in line with what other, you know, venues are charging for their professional passes. Excuse
And
me.
refresh my memory, do you
Bless you.
remember offhand what we received from non-resident income approximately?
I'll have to
So
ask
for parking
Nancy.
passes,
I can
Yeah.
get that.
it was like 2,300 a year,
Okay.
something like that, for parking,
Okay.
roughly. Right?
I remember something like that, 2000 something.
Yeah.
I could confirm with Nancy if you want me to.
No,
Get it
it's,
back
I
to
just
you.
was curious, cause it's
Okay.
just like, okay, how are we making this up? Really going from 20 to 50? Are there that many photographers that are gonna make up the 2,000?
It's really the annual, like we have
Yeah.
like a lot in annual,
Okay,
like 10 right there makes up for it.
okay,
And we've got a lot.
all right.
Cause it's not
And
just
we are more
photographers.
inclusive
Yes.
for other residents that are non-residents, I guess I
Correct.
should say. Okay, that's our goal.
So
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the revised fee schedule as presented.
Further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Jamie, good job.
Losing my place here. Next up, we have update on the launch of marvinnc.gov, Austin.
Okay, this is going to be pretty brief. The website did launch, but has went down for required maintenance. It has went on much longer than I would like. We have a lot of new features with the website that once it's back up and running will be a great tool to use for communication to help us tell the story of Marvin.
Great, so why don't we talk about this when it's up and we can go through it, so maybe at the work session. I mean, I can't see it, I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it.
Mhm.
Do you think it'll be resolved fairly quickly though?
I have a conference call tomorrow that I'm hoping to get a very nice update.
Okay. Well, let's just push this to the work session.
Can update us. It
Please.
is what it is. That's the growing pains we're probably used to, so. Okay. Anything else on that?
That's it.
Okay. Next up, we have Derek update on,
He's on the call.
can we see Derek on the
I think the
phone?
phone is literally him right there.
That is him, but I will tell you that we literally had a conversation about this today, and he has spoken with someone there, and I am scheduled to get an update from him next week.
Okay.
So we'll have more information at the work
I
session.
was hoping that we might be able to add this to our ongoing action item list so that, because I'd forgotten about it and Derek brought it up.
So Derek, unless you have other comments
So
to
Austin, can you
add
add that to our ongoing? Perfect.
to that, other than, you know, we're gonna meet next week to talk about this in full detail, and we'll have a better
On the work session.
update at the work session. That's what we'll leave it
I
at.
just thought on the ongoing one so that I don't forget.
Is this the potential, or vendors to use for park donations?
No, I'm talking about the berm. I wanted an update from your meeting with Union Power.
Oh, okay. So I don't have anything to update. I'm still trying to, made touch with the guy, but he's got to come down from Raleigh, I think.
So Derek and I will meet next week and talk about it in more detail.
Yeah, they did say any damage that they did, they're willing to fix.
All right.
I'm trying to buy this right now, so. Don't worry about
What are you trying to do?
it. Don't worry about it.
Okay. So he doesn't have any updates, is that what we're?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Derek. We're gonna go into new business. Can we take a quick 5-minute bio break? Is that all right?
So moved.
All's in favor?
Aye.
All right, let's give us 5 minutes.
All right, so I'd like to make a motion to come back into open session, or out of recess, whatever.
All's in favor?
Aye.
All right, welcome back, everybody. All right, we're back in session. New business. First up, we have discussion of Park and Greenway donations.
So Derek's on the phone, but I'm gonna take the lead on this real fast because I got a couple things to say. Derek and I have met to talk about the sponsorship kind of platform and how that's gonna be presented to any potential donors. He is scheduled to have that back to me in a couple of days, and it will be presented, from my understanding, to the PRG board to make sure they are in agreement with it, and then subsequently discussed with you all at the work session. I have asked Chaplain to look into the legality of soliciting funds for park projects. He may have some commentary for me after, or for you all after I finish up here, but in short, it is an allowable possibility. And since then, one of your PRG board members have come to me and asked about looking at a third-party vendor to look at soliciting, like a management, so to say, of the funds. And we are still assessing that at a staff level. We'll have some more information back to you all at the work session and the planning board accordingly as well. Chaplain?
You mean PRG?
Yeah, I'm sorry, did I say planning board? PRG, and Chaplain, I don't know if you want to speak to the legality.
Yeah, just briefly, absolutely legal, and you see this a lot, but one thing that I do recommend is a policy. You don't have to make it complicated because you don't have huge naming structures, but you do want to keep that discretion and set general parameters, such as you're going to want to state it's not a public forum. And then if it doesn't match with a lot of the goals and the policies and the perceptions, a lot of common ones are no bars, no tobacco products, no political affiliations, no.
Oh, you're talking about like a sponsorship,
You just set some general parameters.
but not like a donation.
Well, it's really a sponsorship because they're going to get out.
They're gonna get advertising
sponsorship
from it.
because they're getting advertisement. They're going to sponsor a hole and have a.
No. Yes, but if we have a sign at the park that says, "Hey, if you love our park as much as we do and you'd like to donate some money,
That's
please
different.
click." Okay, so we're talking two things
This
here.
is sponsorship.
One's donation, one's sponsorship. This is donations.
Oh, donations, you can absolutely take it.
So do we need to
I think
amend?
it's really donations and sponsorships. The way that, and I read them in the same, even in the agenda. I think it was ways to get money to offset those costs,
Yeah.
either through
And that is
donations.
not write-offable because we're not a 501c, correct?
Probably correct, but they might can use it as a legitimate business expense, depending on the advertisement. But they're going to have to get their account, and we would.
So
We'd
talk
say
to your
we received it, but we are not going to opine on the
Yeah.
text. I have seen governmental entities create nonprofits to help that and then go through, but that's complicated. That's a whole nother level, and I don't think we're
Okay.
there yet. But you can definitely do it, but I would recommend if you're going to move forward with the sponsorship, a simple policy to make sure that you have some discretion, because if you open it up, you never know who's going to ask, and if you don't have rules, you may have somebody sponsoring a golf course hole that you don't want.
CBD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be entertaining to go golf
Could
and
be.
look at all
Right.
the.
Yeah. So one thing that I know Park Rec and Greenway had questions about for the donations is if the village gets a donation for the park or Greenway, where does that money go? Does it go into the general fund and then council just knows to earmark it for the park? Is there a way that we have it go straight to the park? How does that work?
It would have to come into the general fund under miscellaneous revenue, and then we could appropriate it out as another expenditure.
Okay.
And we document all that, so we can actually isolate in our QuickBooks where vendors are paying from the miscellaneous. We can document all that as it comes in.
Okay, because that was a big concern, and at the Parks Rec and Greenway meeting, you guys weren't available to ask that question, so that was definitely a big concern. And I think that's one reason that the board member was asking if a third party could kind of manage it, because they said, well, if a third party manages it, then we know it's going to go directly to the park, but yet it still has to come into the village and then get distributed. So I don't think a third party vendor would be necessary.
That's correct. Even if a third party is solicited for this, we still have to bring it in to miscellaneous
But I
revenue.
mean, it's, what's the difference between a third party managing it and you guys just taking a check and sticking it in the general fund and making a notation that's a donation for the park?
The only other option that we can do is put it into a capital project fund, which I would not recommend because it's very cumbersome, but that is an option.
As long as we can get it in and specifically earmark it for the park / Greenway, then I think we're good. But I think we need to make sure that that's very clear to the public.
Yes, we can definitely do that.
Okay.
That's not a problem at all. And we're not going to advertise, a sponsorship for an event or a purchase or some type of public use and not actually do it. That's not something that we would do. So
Right.
we would definitely document it.
So along with that, and I was inspired, I took a trip to Greenville to my daughter's college to show my in-laws her college. And as we were walking to the bell tower, that path that was on there was with a bunch of bricks from the class of whatever class it was. And it was, each brick had a little notation and stuff. So my thought along this type of thing with donations for Greenways for sponsorship is to maybe put something out from residents that you could build upon, because we have entrances to paths at the park. And at the beginning of every entrance, you could create a brick format where people go in and start the path and look down and see their name. Another way to generate funds to help with the park, which is, it's non-offensive, it's on the ground, it's part of the entranceway. It was just very nicely done at the bell tower, and I thought, oh, this is another way to potentially and kind of lump it in with this. Not that it's advertising, but I guess you could get an advertiser that wants.
Well, that may be more of a donation.
Right.
And then you can get into that.
You make a
But I would
donation and you
still-
get a brick.
You get a
bigger brick if
and
you
the
have a bigger
donation can at certain times be tax deductible, but I would still recommend that the village not take a position on that, because you don't know
Yeah.
how they're using it, or
Right.
if it gets into an entity, but
I'm
there's
just saying it's a
chance
nice
it could
way
be.
to.
That's gonna be their call that y'all should
Yeah.
know.
I mean, we can encourage a class of, Marvin classes as they go forward, class of 2021. Anyone that wants to do that can put in, or whoever, residents, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's more of, 100% of the funds going to park improvements or something to that
Yep.
effect.
Okay, so we'll add that back to Parks Rec and Greenway, but I really wanted this on the agenda because I know that they wanted to know how it worked fund-wise, and so that's very helpful. So Derek and I can bring that back to our next meeting with them.
Okay, anything else on that? Thank you. Next up, we have consider adoption of professional access parking permit application.
And Derek may want to speak to this. We typically don't have to get council approval on an application for a professional access pass, but I think this has been done in the past, so he just wanted to have y'all's blessing on it. If y'all have any comments on it, or if Derek wants to say anything further, he is on the call that he can make some additional comments.
Yeah, I don't think I need to say anything. It's just a rewording of the other application, just with the new fees on it.
Oh, I was like, we just passed this, right?
Well, that's
So
what I
it's
thought
just to
too,
change
but
the
I'm thinking, is
application.
there
Okay.
something else professionally that we're missing here? Or
You're
this
just-
is more for,
You're physically just changing the application, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's more of a formality. It was my error in thinking that you needed to approve it.
Okay, all right, cool.
okay,
So we're good? Do we need to approve it?
No.
No? Okay. Looks good. Good job, Derek.
Next up, we have discussion and consideration of pocket park design.
Yeah, I just wanted, this came from PRG. This is just a preliminary sketch of a design. It is not the actual plant.
It's the same.
Choices of grasses, etc. This is just a skeleton.
It's the same.
PRG just really wants your blessing on the overall
This
sketch layout plan. I took what they drew up and what I tried to do. I think what you have in your agenda packet was just a blank sketch. I went in and labeled everything so that you knew what each different hand-drawn design meant.
This,
Often should have the shows on the table. But it's basically picnic tables, benches, water supplies,
Bob,
and
look.
then grasses and trees.
Bob, look. There. It's different.
Oh, it is different, that's what I was looking at, because it looks, wait a minute, I think what I got,
It's
yeah, maybe,
it's got the it's got the key to what all the things are in it.
oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
I can see it now, thank you, okay.
Go down
So
he can
water
see
source would
trees
be,
growing
what is
very
that,
well.
a water source?
All right, thank you.
What's,
It'll be like a solar powered water fountain, like bird feed, like bird water, bird.
Yeah.
okay.
Bird bath.
Bird bath! Thank
Bird
you.
bath, okay.
God. Oh, bless.
Okay, so, and just to be clear, yeah, parking is accessible only from Publix.
Correct.
So you gotta go into the Publix Marvin Gardens area and park behind that. It's hidden from the main street. And have they ever, was there ever gonna be access for like golf carts from that neighborhood right to the?
It's
Letting them
wide.
chase.
Okay, it's good.
Yes.
Okay, looks good.
Do you guys like this?
Yeah.
Parks Rec and Greenway
Yeah, I
loves
like
it. Me too. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's 1.5 acres,
No, it's just-
1.05.
105. It's not very big, but
No.
nice.
No, so you kind of, you take what you do a lot of natural area, leave a bunch of the, do a lot of low maintenance.
It's where you and I can go grab a cup of coffee and sit on the bench.
Yes. Yes, and listen to the traffic and Providence Road go by.
All right, okay. So we're all good there?
Yeah.
Moving
Alright.
forward, discussion,
Thank you, Derek.
discussion and consideration of
Thank
this.
you.
Thanks, Derek. Next up, we have discussion and consideration of displacing solid waste and recycling vendors with a final decision to be made in 6 months and not commencing for 15 months as a municipal service.
It's a biggie.
That is one.
So I am going to go through kind of a recap of what's transpired over the last year, and then we'll get into the nuts and bolts of what it is that I'm asking for. Basically, at the last council retreat, which happened in February of 2020, we discussed the idea of solid waste and recycling as a municipal service. Since that time, we have really kind of penciled in what we think the annual costs are going to be based off of what people are receiving currently, and just also the volume that we would have with a proposed contract. Since this time, we have also been in communication with Weddington, who is interested in the same level of service that we are. We have been working in communication with them, and we are basically following the same schedule and timeline for this project. I'm going to go through the benefits that I proposed to you all at the November 6th, 2020 meeting, as well as the potential disadvantages, just so we can highlight those again. But the advantages to having solid waste and recycling as a municipal service would be that it would maintain stabilization of the impact of our roads. It would reduce the frequency and number of heavy trucks on our roads. So therefore, it would decrease the cost of our annual road maintenance, hopefully. It would increase grant funding opportunities. There would be an aesthetic benefit to cans being on the road on one day as opposed to multiple days as it is currently. It would also be another voluntary annexation benefit, greater quality of service, and less cost as we entice more people to be annexed. We feel that it would be more environmental friendly if we reduce compressed natural gas trucks. They're quieter and safer for the environment. We can mandate recycling. It would be safer for our neighborhoods as we reduce the amount of trucks going into our subdivision. Safer for pedestrians and bicyclists. We would increase the continuity of operations to a one-source complaint from residents, village staff, or some level of staff, either village or town of Weddington, would handle complaints, in which means citizens can rely on a local person to help them if their garbage is not collected. And we would have stricter penalties for vendors if they have missed pickups, spills, litter, that sort of thing. The disadvantages, and obviously this is not an all-inclusive list, but the disadvantages would be citizens would not have the ability to opt out of services. So if they're currently not receiving solid waste collection right now, they would be required to pay for it at least. There would be no option to choose out of the service. And another disadvantage is that we would have to have an increased level of staff to handle complaints. This person could be shared with Weddington.
And the other disadvantages is not being able to choose their vendor.
That's correct. They would not be able to choose their vendor. That is correct.
Are we going to go to bid on this, obviously?
We are. And that's a part of the item that I will request here shortly. Just wanted to go over some of these things in full detail so we can make sure we are discussing it in totality.
Go ahead.
We did compare the cost of what our current vendors right now that service our area. They're inside your agenda packets. Active Trash looks like it's around $336 annually. Waste Connection is around $372, and Waste Pro is around $360. By just general estimates that we've come up with, we believe that we can save our residents anywhere from $100 to $150 a year off of combining this service. It could be more, it could be less, but we feel like we would have a greater level of service delivery and save our residents money in the same token.
So, I looked at this, my note for this part of it is, instead of saving residents $100 to $150, I look at my individual situation and my lack of service that I get currently. So I would rather say if we're going to be progressive enough of a town that's, actually asking you to mandate recycling or encourage people to recycle is a good thing. The second thing is things like twice a year pickups for major appliances or something. People, unless you have a pickup truck and the ability to, or get someone, you're hiring someone to do that, offering that service. Oils, paints, and stuff like that, again, if you are, you're a do-it-yourselfer and stuff, what are you doing with the paints and the oils and the leftover, if you change your own oil and stuff, what are you doing with that? Providing a service for pickup of that too. So I'm more interested, because $100 to $150, yes, that's a good thing. It's always good to save money. But if we can increase the services by implementing a one-stop shop, let's just see what they have and stuff. So.
Yep, and that's the next on my list of discussion items. So obviously our objective is to provide a greater level of service, and by that, the next action item that I'm requesting from council is to go through the list of the types of services, the level of service, and a bunch of different issues that are highlighted in your agenda packet so that we can move forward with preparing the RFP. The timeline that we would discuss these items would be tonight, where we would make some decisions based off of what's in your agenda packet. First and foremost, if council is interested in moving forward with solid waste and assessing what the final cost would be based off of different levels of service, the first item would be that we would need to move forward with displacing the solid waste collection vendors, and that step one requested action is in your agenda packets. Chaplain, I don't know if you have any commentary.
I do have one thing. Y'all talked about this enough just to really get the notice published. You had basic background information, but this is your first in-depth discussion. This is also the first publicly noticed. You had to print a notification
and you might want to see before you take any action, and if anybody from the public wants to speak, because we did have to publish that to start, and this is the first really formal action you're going to take, and that's why we've broken it down into step 1 and step 2. And after you hear from them, if you go on with step 1, if you proceed with the displacement, then we will go through with step 2, terms and conditions, really just for the RFP and to get bids out, because it's a long process and it's hard for y'all to make a intelligent decision until you know a lot of the specifics.
Which is exactly the things that you're talking about, Mayor Queen.
But the reason the process is so long is because there are vendors out there, and that's why you publish the notice, and it has to be at least 15 months, or you have to compensate them.
So how long is this process overall? It's at least 18 months, right?
We would not start implementation until 2022, but the RFP process would start here immediately after we make the decision to move forward.
So I'm playing devil's advocate. In 18 months, whatever it is, you may have a new council, added council, and that they are not in favor of this, right in the middle of all this. Can they do anything to upset that apple cart, or is that something once we say we're a go for this, that you're a go for this legally?
The bid would be selected on April 13th. Now, obviously, if, whatever the provisions in the bid are, once it's awarded, could, I guess, be paid out. There would obviously be a financial penalty to doing so, because what happens is once that bid is awarded and they get the notice to proceed, those vendors then have to subsequently purchase the supplies, the trucks, the carts, that sort of thing. So there will be a financial impact if we back out of it.
We're going to be under contract, so yeah, there's going to be.
Well, when we're under contract,
Yeah,
that's
your
up
contract, you can negotiate through that.
this April.
We're in this position until the last day, and regardless, and so I'm not going to defer my decision or change my decision based on
What might happen.
what might happen.
Right. No, I agree.
So
I just
I for
playing
me,
devil's advocate.
no, and that's a great point. I mean, it's something we do need to. Some might want us to consider, but this is something we have talked at length about. We're trying to close the donut hole and doing all these things, and we've got a partner in this as well. So we have to consider us playing, hokey dokey on it. We're going to disrupt our partner that's already in. So for me, whatever council tells us to do that not expedites but keeps us moving forward, I'm all in for it.
All right, so what do you need from us now?
I need action on the step 1.
Well, why don't we see if there's anybody from the public, because we published a public notice.
We did.
So call for a public.
It's not a public hearing.
But we published notice. And when statute strangely worded, it says you have to publish notice, which states that you're letting people know, and if that, I think you ought to.
So we have nobody on we've got nobody on TV, and we've got
But can we just do a public comment period?
right now.
Or just right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so we have one lady in the audience. Ma'am, would you like to say anything about public waste? I mean, I don't know what else.
So, hello everyone, I am Heather Hamilton and I'm actually the sales director at Active Waste Solutions. So I'm representing the company tonight because we are very entrenched in the community. We live here.
Can you speak up just a little bit?
It's just a bit hard to hear.
I can take it off. So, I'm Heather Hamilton with Active Waste Solutions. I'm their sales director. We not only have a decided interest in this in terms of servicing the community, which we currently do over thousands of homes, but we live here as well. So I'm interested in any way that I can, helping answer questions, but I'm also interested, obviously, for our company in doing the best thing for the community. There are a lot of things to consider, and those among them, not the smallest, would be who is licensed to actually recycle and who is not. Who actually has the equipment in their truck that, with regards to all OSHA standards, there are considerations such as who is actually able to purchase enough containers of the type that the community would want for uniformity. who is actually able to have a fully staffed customer service. So these are things that you want to think about going forward. Also, you want to think about who is locally based, because in that effort, you can have large companies that certainly have the resources that I've just spoken about, but if they are not locally based, they really don't have the community's interest at heart.
Where is your waste go to now?
Where does our waste? It depends on what areas we service. So we service a 5-county area right now. We are licensed in both North Carolina and in South Carolina. So it is dependent upon where we are.
Okay, so for this area in Marvin, obviously we're going to be wanting to know where would we expect waste to go, all the way to Union County's center, where they I guess dispose, because Union County, I want to say years ago, approached us and trying to get us to standardize and go with them, and we talked a little bit, and there was no interest on the council level at that time. Plus there was a lot of travel back and forth on the road for the trucks and stuff, whereas some of these, I mean, it's hit or miss right now. We've got probably 3 or 4 different companies right now in a small town, which are we're slowly owning the roads. We want one truck, that type of thing. So it's going to be within a how many mile radius will our dump site for household waste. It wouldn't go to South Carolina because that's not even household waste. Okay.
And with the recycling, again, I will not say the names, but I'll certainly say that we are certified as recyclers. So that's very important.
And do you have areas to go to with your company, just out of curiosity? Like if I had paint that I want to get rid of, or oil, or something that's environmentally not friendly to, you know, just throwing it in the garbage. Do you have a facility or a way right now, or do you offer anything with that? Or
so
can
Joe,
you just...
what some people don't know is if you have a certain amount of paint and it is dried out, we can take those in the trucks. Some people aren't aware of that. It was a big scare a long time ago.
You have to dry it out though. You have to leave it.
You have to dry it out.
Right.
However, with that said, what we can do is have a day for the community. This is very impactful and effective for people, as you mentioned, and that can go to both bulk waste as well as the haz waste. We can have a day. So this way, as you said, everybody doesn't have a pickup truck and everybody doesn't have time, and some people don't want to drive to the dump.
Right, or they'll hide it in their trash and you guys learn about it later when you're you know.
And Mayor Polino, I'm going to get to all that in the second step. That's,
okay.
Household hazardous waste is what it's called, and we've got all that stuff in the list of services that we'll get to.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate having time to speak.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
I would recommend, and I'm sure that staff will ask for it, but a lot of the things that you had just mentioned, being someone that's entrenched here in the community, is that part of your presentation of part of the RFP, RFI, RFQ? That's good information. I mean, I know we would probably ask the question, but it's good to make sure that it's in there, because
absolutely,
we will ask the question.
So to reiterate, the first step that we would need here is for y'all to actually move forward with the displacement. And then the next step would be for us to go over all the different components that she just mentioned, that's a part of the RFP process. To kind of recap and summarize what I had initially said, is we discussed the advantages and disadvantages of displacing these companies to be a cost savings hopefully generated to our public, but the main point is to provide a better quality of service for our residents. And if that's the interest of council, the next step in the process would be to obviously RFP so that we can look at the cost. And then from that point, we can decide if we wanted to move forward with this project or not. But the first and foremost step is to actually move forward to displace these companies if it's decided when we get back from the RFP. And again, that step is laid out in your agenda packet specifically.
So wait, I just have one more question, just to make sure that we're crossing T's and dotting I's here. So say we pick a company. Right now, we pay the waste companies every quarter.
Correct.
You're talking about moving this into an ad valorem tax, so it's all one thing. So we're going to be asking the residents to pay one fee at the beginning of the year when they pay their taxes, correct?
That's correct. And then
Okay.
subsequently, we would pay the vendor that we.
Yeah. So that's going to look like a tax, big tax, you know, what the heck's happening, but when people understand that that is going towards.
That will be our job to educate the
Yeah.
public.
Okay, I just want to make it clear that we're not, that's another maybe disadvantage to someone who's changing because they're going from quarterly payments to an annual payment.
That's correct. And it could be a ad valorem tax increase, or it could simply be an impact fee that's on their tax bill. So
Okay.
either one. We can decide that at a later date once we find out what the cost is going to be.
Yeah, I'd rather do it as an impact because I think you separate it from a tax standpoint.
Okay, so I would like to make a motion to approve moving forward with this placement of private solid waste collection services with a final decision within 6 months. And in no event will any such actual provision of municipal-related solid waste services commence for a period of 15 months from the date of first publication, which occurred on December 12th, 2020.
Further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Kim couldn't get that out quick enough.
I would have if you'd stop.
Well, I want to be clear and make sure we're understanding what we're.
All right, go Christina, what's next?
Okay, so I'm going to go through the different types of services and then also the level of service that's in your agenda packets. This may be another opportunity for Ms.
Let's go one by one.
Hamilton to provide more input as we go about. But types of service, we have residential, we have
Yes.
commercial.
We want residential.
Yes.
We have residential, we have commercial, and then we also have provisions for village property.
Hold on, let's go through them one by one. Quit running through them, because we're just gonna have to go back and say, okay, what about residential? What about, so let's just go through them. Is
So
this
we
what
want
you
to vote
from
on
us,
each
right?
one?
Yeah, I was gonna go through each one, but I wanted to give a general overview so y'all kind of understood the bigger picture.
Dear Lord, I hope we read this before we got here.
Okay, so we want residential.
I mean, I'm sorry, but come on, we should have prepared for this. Let's go.
Commercial is not something that we are generally prepared to do with
No,
this RFP, so I'm assuming y'all don't want commercial.
no.
And then we will make up our own provisions for village property.
Yes.
At a staff level.
Mm-hmm.
And then the options are solid waste only or solid waste and recycling
I want
for the
both.
base.
I want both.
Both ends.
Okay?
Bob, you want both?
Yes.
Okay.
Three
Okay.
people, we can vote this all in right now.
Okay, and so the next question is level of service.
Oh, no, wait, what about extras?
I'll get to that in just 1 minute. Weekly service on solid waste and
Yes.
then bi-weekly, I'm sorry,
No.
bi-weekly on recycling is typically what you see. So
Bi-weekly?
I get my recycling done every week and my giant can is full every week.
So we can do what's called optional bids on different things, but we need to come up with
That's
a
what I thought
base.
back door. I was like, that is so bad. Go ahead,
I
sorry.
know y'all want to talk about backdoor service. So I need a base commitment from you guys if you're interested in solid waste being picked up weekly and
Yes.
then recycling bi-weekly, or do you want weekly
I want
recycling?
weekly recycling.
Once a week, for me.
Me too.
Okay,
Joe drinks a lot of beer, so he needs it picked up.
They don't take glass. I understand.
Oh, I put glass in mine.
okay, so then our
Glass
base,
allowed? No, see? Did you know that?
our base contract will be
No,
weekly
they
solid
get
waste
it.
and recycling. And then the extras, we're looking at backdoor service. Backdoor service is
Hold on, pay attention. Shush. Shushy.
backdoor service is basically if someone is handicapped or elderly and they cannot physically take their cart to the road, what the solid waste vendor will do is actually come and get the cart from their door and take it to the road. Typically, what would happen is we would need a percentage level of the population. It may be 10%, 20% of the contract could be backdoor service, and what we would do is come up with some type of certification where we would communicate that to the vendor. For example, if someone is sick, they can't physically take it out, they would have to get a doctor's note certified that they can't do so. We would send it to the vendor, and they would put that as a percentage of whatever the backdoor service. I don't know if you want to go with 10% of the population or 20% as backdoor service, but we can.
Can we do 5?
Yeah.
Let's do 5%.
Do you have some comments on that, Chaplain?
No, I was gonna say 20% is probably high for this population, and you could also structure it with a percentage, and then, you know, we could ask for a cost if you go above, or we could work
Okay.
that out in the contract.
We'll do 5 to 10%, and then itemized cost for anything more. and I'm just gonna keep going unless y'all interrupt me. So the couple of options on the extras, again, are bulk leaf, hazardous waste, and shredding. These
So
could,
I like the bulk, and I'd like that like twice a year, along with like hazardous waste. And then yard debris and leaf pickup, I mean, I don't know. I don't put all that stuff out, my yard guys take it.
There's also one more extra on the back, the top.
Shredding,
white goods. So white goods are any type of like refrigerator,
can't we do
freezer.
that with bulk?
We can. It's going to be a little different with white goods. There's a separate fee that the vendors have to pay when they deposit electronics or white goods
Wait.
into the landfill.
So if we sign up for this, is it something that like is just in our contract and it's twice a year that this happens and so this is what the cost is? Or let's say that we don't have it and I call up and I say, I've got to get rid of this refrigerator. Can you guys schedule pickup and I'll pay extra?
We can do that too.
I'd rather do that.
So I need to know then what you want seasonal events to be. When you're talking about twice a year, I consider that a seasonal event.
Spring and the fall.
I need to know what levels of these extras you want as seasonals and which ones you want as just a general service that the consumer will pay for.
Twice a year, bulk and hazardous waste, the rest of the stuff. I mean, does anybody have yard debris?
Yeah. Well, my landscaper takes it.
Yeah.
I would keep it simple, it's just.
Keep
But
it simple,
I
Steve?
still do put it out, yard waste.
Do you?
Yeah, I mean, he takes so much and then
Bulk leaf is considered
I'm not.
like literally
considered
leaves you brush out to
yeah.
your road,
nobody's
not
doing
bagged
that.
up.
Well,
Okay.
what about cut branches of people that, a lot of people do their own cutting of the branches and trimming their trees and stuff, and they don't necessarily have the vehicle, so having,
Then if they have it, they need to call, they can schedule it, and they can pay a fee to come pick it up.
like a guy like that guy right there in the picture, he's gonna cut his own trees now, I guarantee you.
Now, one thing that I would like to have is Christmas tree pickup
Okay.
included. Cause I'm irritated with my people. So I had to
Don't
call,
say
it's
it.
been sitting outside for 2 weeks.
They're all
Okay,
over
so y'all
bargain.
want to do optional bids on
And I had to
bulk.
call,
So just to summarize, y'all want to do optional bids on bulk, hazardous waste, shredding, white goods.
no shredding,
Y'all don't want shredding.
no,
Okay.
No?
no.
I know Weddington does an annual thing that they allow people to bring all their stuff and they just dump it in there.
I don't trust that for diddly squat. You know that those people that are sitting there hired, they're sitting there going, oh, let me go through all your stuff and find out.
No, you literally watch it go through the container as you're sitting there.
So do y'all want me to take shredding off or?
No shredding.
Anyone else? You want
Gosh,
Keep
it's
it simple,
I'm-
stupid.
I know, but I'm telling you that I've got 5 bags of shredded material right now.
You can bring
that
it
I
over to
gotta
my
burn.
house. I'll shred it for you. I shred everything that has money.
I have my own shredder that I
Me
do
too.
I do too,
myself.
but when it comes, now I got 5 bags.
Right.
And shredded, I call shredded.
That
they
you
charge
need
me
to shred.
$500. And I'm like, what? So $500, we'll bring the truck out and going, no, I'm not paying $500.
Wow.
You can give me $250 and I'll do it for you, Jamie.
So keep in mind, these are all optional. So what we'll do is we'll base the RFP off of the base, solid waste, and recycling. These optionals you can choose at a later date after you look at the pricing. So you don't have to actually
Okay.
physically
You
say
can put it
yes.
in RFP, and you don't have to agree to it in the contract, they can price it.
It's just, you could, I would think you could make it a community event, this is our day,
Oh, God.
and you have it, the truck at the park, and people just pull up, they dump their stuff in and
That
we'll
would
get
be
it shredded.
nice.
That's what I think Weddington does, and I think
Mecklenburg.
I've done it when St. Matt's offered it, our church offered it. And I just brought all our stuff, because it was gonna be hours for me to shred it.
Person, right.
Would you all like me to insert some?
I would love to hear what you have.
So there are shredding companies, for instance, Iron Mountain, and
Shredded.
they actually do the shredding. Any of the waste vendors that you would be considering, they would have to subcontract. that
See?
work.
They're not gonna sit there and shred it right
And that's
for you.
okay, but it's just a service that we're providing, because we're gonna contract with one of those companies as the village and say, this once So we can do it separate is what we're saying. We can decide that later down the road.
Good luck,
Do y'all want me to put it in as an optional on the bid and y'all can decide at a
Sure.
later date?
but good
Okay.
luck.
So again, to summarize the
And your
extras,
identity gets stolen, you
Not,
call me.
I don't think, no, I don't think shredding should be part of
Okay.
that then, because
No.
I don't want them to subcontract it.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll
Village
negotiate
should
our
go.
own deal.
Right.
Yeah.
okay, so again,
That's better.
the optional bids that I will have are bulk, hazardous waste, Christmas tree pickup, and the white goods or electronic pickup. We'll do that twice a year with obviously the exception of Christmas trees. And we'll put that in, we'll put that in as an optional bid. Is everybody in agreement?
Yep.
Okay. All right, moving on then, since we've already decided on all that, unless there's any other comments on the level and types of services. Okay, so carts, we don't have to decide this now, we can do a
Purple,
color at a later date.
purple.
The biggest thing here is, do y'all want the logo on the village seal to be on the carts? If
No,
you do,
it's
there's
gonna
gonna
be
be an
more
extra cost.
expensive. No. It's a trash can. We
Okay.
can make them black or gray.
I like the idea of the actual garbage trucks having our seal of Village of Marvin, so they know they don't associate it to any one company, because I can almost promise you we're gonna get blowback from individuals who don't like XYZ company or ABC company, but if it has the label Village of Marvin on the trucks coming to pick it up, then it's done
But
through the village and it
they're coming
gets.
through once a week, what are they gonna do the
They're gonna
other
use that
5
4
days a
days
week?
Yeah, the other 4 days a week.
Right.
I would like to, my
It's just-
preference would be to make it look organized and professional, to have the logo on the trash can, just Village of Marvin.
We can do that as an option and see what the additional cost is.
Okay. They're gonna have to do new ones.
That's
anyway.
fine, then they have to be purple,
Why?
cause I said so.
Oh.
And we can
Remember
decide
this is all being taped.
I don't care, I mean,
I don't think purple's gonna fly.
why not?
Just saying.
I have pink ones in my neighborhood now.
I know, but I'm just saying, I'm not sure purple's gonna fly.
So the standard is 1 cart per household. If the consumer wants to purchase another one, they can do so with communication to the vendor, and they can be billed directly from the vendor. So that's what we'll proceed with if y'all are okay with that.
One for trash, one for recycling.
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct, yes. The other biggie on the carts is lease versus purchase. I am gonna advise you to do a lease because.
That's what I wrote, lease.
Okay, we don't have the ability to store carts, to repair them, that sort of thing, so
I did size of cart, I said big.
96 is the
I
most
said
common.
big.
Is the one that the trucks
don't want a small
automatically
one.
pick up? Yeah. Yeah, we don't need the small recycle bins.
So can I get a,
Come on,
I
it
guess
is 9:15 and you guys are having no fun with trash, come on.
can I get a
We
consensus
don't know
on
if you're
lease
serious
versus
or not
purchase?
on the purple.
Lease.
I'm really not. I said gray or black.
Okay, we're gonna move forward with lease then.
Yeah.
Lease, yes, I said lease.
And we discussed the fees to be assessed to the consumer if they want more carts. Now the lease would also consist of if there were any damages done to the cart that they would pay for it, the vendor would pay for it. So we'll get that worked out in the agreement. The next biggie is the type of trucks. The options obviously are diesel, which is the most common. They're loud, they're heavy.
I said environmentally friendly.
That
That's what I
would be
wrote, but I don't know what that means.
compressed natural gas trucks, and then electric, which are not very common. The compressed natural gas trucks seem to be growing. I just saw a Charlotte solid waste truck today that was CNG. They're very quiet. They have reduced emissions. They're 50% cleaner than your diesel trucks. They weigh less. They're better on the roads. We can require CNG trucks to be a part of the contract. Again, I think that's more environmental friendly for our residents, and it's also quieter. It's going to reduce the wear and tear on the roads.
I like it.
Is everybody in agreement with CNG?
Yep.
And then the next one is days of collection. Obviously,
Monday.
Monday through Friday. I would assume
Everything's
Monday
being
through
decided by
Friday.
one
You might have to work with the vendor on that, though.
squeaky wheel.
Monday. Did you just call me squeaky wheel?
I think I did.
Can y'all give me 2 options of days though, like Monday and Tuesday, or Monday and Friday?
I like the beginning of the week, early in the week. I mean,
Remember, we are doing this with Weddington, so we need to keep in mind that they're going to have a lot of
Well,
volume.
we'll do Monday, they can do Tuesday.
Yeah. Yeah, we said Monday first. We got this out. We're way ahead of them, by the way, on this.
They did this last night.
Oh, they did?
We're
So
way
close.
ahead.
Way!
Based on the conversation I had with women, I didn't think
We're
they
doing
were
it
this
right.
far.
You almost had it.
Sometime at the beginning of the week.
Okay, Monday or Tuesday, is that okay with y'all?
Yeah.
And then the time of collection, we were looking at 7A to 7P.
I said in the morning.
If y'all limit it to the morning, it is gonna increase the cost, because they're gonna, again, they're doing it, the volume
I mean, that's
with
fine, just,
7A to 7P.
yeah, in the morning.
And
Or,
just
I mean, in that
At some
day,
point
one
during the day.
Yeah.
They'll figure out their own path and schedule.
But keep in mind, if we allow 7 PM, they could potentially be running at 6 o'clock at night. So if y'all aren't interested in them
That's
running
fine.
after hours, then we need to do 7.
They do it right now anyways, because they're usually behind.
I
in
mean,
my
I'm happy if
service.
they come and pick my trash up on the right day, so.
Okay, and then the next couple of things are legal issues, which we would address in the RFP itself. It's not something that we,
I said talk to Chaplin about that.
and I'll just go ahead and go through the list, and I'll tell you what we had planned on doing,
Okay.
just so you're aware. Contract renewals, we would do a 5-year contract with an auto renewal of 2 years. Price increases will be based off the consumer price index.
It's not on my list.
It's on the second page. Under water, sewer, trash, price consumer index, which is pretty common. It's in your agenda packet. Right there, yeah.
See, you didn't give me the full list before.
Yeah, because I added more to it. So the price index, the price increases would be based off the
That was
consumer
missed.
price index.
I was looking for that. We didn't have
Water,
that.
sewer, trash. We would define the failure to perform. We would work with Chaplin on that, and we would also define what the penalties would be for miscollection. We would, greatly penalize the vendors if they did miscollection, and we would have to come up with how the miscollections are verified and quantified. We would also need to come up with a change of pickup day if something happened. Private road damage. This is going to be a municipal service, so typically, if a vendor damages a private road, they're probably going to be coming to us to repair, the HOA or whoever owns the road. They're probably going to be coming to the Village of Marvin to solicit repair on their roads. We can obviously try to pin it back on the vendor based off of our ordinance, but just so you know, that is a little bit of an exposure that we may potentially have. Do you have any comments on that, Chuck?
No, I think we could put, some indemnity language that they're responsible.
Okay.
But it'll be a proof issue of whether it was the garbage truck or the delivery truck or
Yes.
something else. And that's why you mentioned exposure. There'd have to be some type of ability for us to prove it's a garbage truck.
The next thing is a biggie. Employees of the vendor, we would obviously want them to comply with E-Verify, and we would also want to assure that they have clean driving records, background checks, drug checks, all that good stuff. But I just want to clarify that we would not be involved in any of that whatsoever. We would hold the vendor accountable for it. However, there's obviously not a level of check that we could perform because it is an HR sensitive issue with the vendor itself.
And I think contractually, we put that duty and obligation on them, and it's just if we want to do anything, but I think we could say clean driving record and.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're clear on that. And we would obviously get with Chaplin on the limits of insurance, communication of miscollections or rescheduled of collections, when new customers come in, how that's, communicated to that vendor. Records retention, we would require them to do this because we are required as a municipal operation to report back to DEQ or some other solid waste vendor of what's collected. So we would make sure that they communicate that to us at least monthly or annually as we need it. We would also need to have some information about if y'all want them to be locally based or at least have staff. I don't know if y'all want an office locally based or if you want someone to be at least a project manager that's locally based. I don't know how y'all wanted to word that, but I need some direction to you all from you all on.
I think that should be a part of the RFI,
Yes.
and just to make sure what is your relationship to the community in ownership and in management,
You just want a question, not a requirement.
not a requirement.
Okay, so Chaplain, I'm going to ask you on this because when we award the bid, it has to be the lowest responsible.
Better. You could do some local preference statutes, sometimes, and I'm gonna have to think about that, but I think you can have a, you might already have to have that. in
It's gonna be
place.
over the threshold.
It, what,
It's
wait a
gonna be
second,
way
so,
over.
so we have to take the lowest bidder?
You do.
Yeah, lowest responsible bidder under the public.
So unless you make it a requirement as the RFP, then you can't make it as a responsible bidder. For instance, if you make a requirement that they have to be locally based, whatever that means, we need to define it, and they come back that they're not a responsive bidder because they don't meet the guidelines of the RFP. You can ask the question, but you can't necessarily make a award based off of that alone.
Not
If you
mine.
want them to be locally based, we need to put it in the contract as a part of the RFP. Chaplain, I think the threshold is 300,000.
I'd have to check, but I think they
And it's gonna
have
be-
a
it's
cap
gonna
on
be
that.
more.
This is gonna be more than that. And they have this state law, they have all these regulations on how you bid it, and they do it so you don't do, this is too big for good old boy, but that's why they do it.
I get that part of it, but, you know, I still go back to, you wanna get in the space rocket with the low cost bidder? And you're
We'll pass
asking them
those
to
too.
put
Chaplain.
CNG trucks, and you're asking them to do, you know, this, that, and the other.
And I just want to add this about the CNG trucks. So the two largest companies in North America are Waste Management and Republic Services respectively. And in their entire fleet, Waste Management has 2,000 CNG trucks. That is nationwide. And Republic Services currently has 1,100. So
Yeah, I mean, that's a, it's almost like you're asking, you're asking for a tall order for the Village of Marvin, and you're taking the low bidder. And I get contractually, I get that piece of it, and I get the things that we want, but I'm also an entrepreneur, and there's a part of me that would go ahead.
So the two options that we really have are diesel and CNG. And obviously CNG is not as common and prevalent. I think it is something that's on the rise. And if we require CNG, then it's going to be something that the vendor has to purchase more than likely, which may potentially drive up the cost.
Well, and let me just throw in, and I'm just trying to help us. I'm trying to help us be a responsive person to put it out. Contract renewal, 5 years. So in 5 years, I go, okay, you know what? I'm gonna do all CNG. How much is that truck? Let's just say it's $100,000, and I gotta have, I don't know, 10 of them, 5 of them. So I've got close to $1 million to just recoup before I make the first dollar, and then in 5 years you go, you know what? You got the squeaky wheel, because I don't like them. They didn't take my, they dropped some trash out and they go, whatever. Listen, I'm all for this. I'm just trying to help us be a prudent consumer.
But it's not like if they buy the trucks, they're still gonna be able to use them even if we don't renew the contract. Like, it's not like they're gonna stop being able to use
Listen,
them.
I get it.
I think that one of our biggest selling points is the environmentally friendly and that the CNG ones are a lot less heavy to save the roads. And I think those are two of our really big selling points. And if we come back and we put it out to bid and people can't do it, then we'll fix the contract and we'll fix RFP and send it back out. I just really like the idea of being environmentally friendly. And
Listen, I do too. I'm all for it. I wish we all had.
you drink from
electric
plastic
cars.
straws, don't you?
Yeah.
Metal straws.
But
That's what I
we
drink
also
from.
have to be mindful that when we go back out to the, and I go, okay, I'm currently paying $90 a month for my trash. Now I'm going to pay 125. Because we put all this stuff on there and it's come back and they go, well, even at lowest bidder, it's 125 because of all the stuff that we just piled on top of it.
But we don't have, if it comes back and we don't like the way that the RFP looks because it's too expensive for us, we can always redo it and fix it.
Or
Would you
can't
like
the
that as an
RFP,
option?
can't,
Price it two ways. One
I'd say
with,
price it two ways.
that's where I was going, is if you have an option of, okay, it's almost like a cafeteria style, I want this, if you are gonna remove X, then that's gonna drop your price down per household
I want
to
this.
whatever.
No one wants this more than I do because it fixes a lot of, it helps us with a lot, I shouldn't say fix, but it helps us with a lot more things.
And we can price it option, and Ms. Hamilton can give us a head nod on what I'm getting ready to say or not, but I think that the overall beginning cost of a CNG truck is expensive, but the cost of diesel trucks to maintain is increasingly going up as they get older. So at the end of the day, they may end up weighing themselves out based off of the increase of maintenance based in the initial purchase price. So we can do it as an option, but I don't know if you have any comments on that.
I can just talk to the current market price for said truck, right? So, that would be around $220,000 for a front load truck. So if the people competing for this, if they have a fleet of trucks and none of those, so that's a purchase that they're gonna need to make. As you said, they'll be able to use that, and I think everybody involved is very conscious about the environment, certainly if you live here. So that would be something that they could use going forward, but you're looking at $220,000 roughly for one truck. So that's just I think that's probably helpful in terms of the maintenance on the trucks, there's no question about it. The only people that have a history of that, the only 3 waste companies that have a real true history of that have actually been using those trucks for a period of a decade would be Waste Management for Public Services, and Waste Pro has used them for the last 5 years. So they're the only ones that have a history of that, but from that history, the data shows that they are less expensive to maintain.
So we can put that in as an option. Going back to the big question, do y'all want a locally based company? And if so, what do you define as locally based? And what does that mean? Do you want just a representative that lives here? Do you want an office that's in Union County? I need to know like specifics as to what you want in terms of that.
You know what, for me, because you've got to be doing pricing and stuff like that, I would not make it a requirement. I think that's just, if you want to, if it comes down to the tie, if someone says, I'm locally here, I've got management here, I've got whatever, then that's a consideration.
So we'll just put it in as a question then. If there ends up being a tie on the price, then y'all can make your determination off that.
I asked the question, we're not required to take the lowest
The
bid,
lowest
are we?
responsive bidder, I mean, I could research and see if we could do this as a service, but this is really more of a product.
I don't think we should have to be required.
Well, you might not think you should have to, but we have to.
I'm just
Those
saying,
are the
it's a-
rules. I don't think
This
we should
is,
do a lot.
this is different than your, like your architectural services, where it's more of a profession. I mean, I could look and, services do have some exemptions, but really this is more of it's more like it's closer to a product. I mean, you're getting something removed, and it should be somewhat similar. But then you're gonna go into, if you could even do that, a request for qualifications process. And then that has a whole different process, and you have to look at price afterwards. And usually that's limited to your
The
architectural.
lowest bid on the landscapers.
That is different, because those are like professional services.
That's all we have.
So just to be clear, we're just gonna make it a question, not a requirement. Any other questions on the requirement to go with the lowest bidder?
Joe, are you clear?
Don't like it.
Why not?
I don't want to do
Because I think you go with lowest bidder, you're going to get. My whole life I've I've never got the lowest bidded. Certainly when I go look for a car, I don't get the lowest priced car. You know, anything I shop for, it's not the lowest price. It's the value that comes along with
All right,
whatever
we can't
that
change
value
it
is.
though, friends.
Chaplain, do you have any other commentary on that?
I mean, there's some exemptions for services. I was just thinking of this as more of a pricing thing and going for RFP, request for proposals, and request for proposals are, and I could try to see if I could fit this into a request for qualifications.
So what happens if we're required to go with the lowest bidder, we get the lowest bidder in here, and they fail because of them being the lowest bidder, they fell left and right, and it just is an ultimate failure. I mean, what are your...
We have failure to perform.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have that contractually. We could look into.
And that could be arbitrary. I mean, you can just say, you know what, we're getting way too many complaints, you're out. And we move on to the one that was a little bit higher, but maybe better service. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, no, I think that's when you have your service provisions. Now, the complaints have to be real.
of course,
Justified.
yeah, but they'll come. If it's the lowest bidder, I'm almost positive that those complaints will come along with
To
it.
move
They're
forward,
gonna come anyway. You're
We
never
could
gonna
look
make
into
anybody
ways of
happy.
having pre-qualifications for bidders. They do that in the construction industry. Certain level of experience, X number of lawsuits, and
yeah, we can make that part of the RFP and the responsive part of it too, the responsible. There's a
Okay.
couple options here we can do. I am 99% sure we have to go with the lowest responsive bidder.
I think this is more of a good than a service.
And I think Chaplain can look into it from an RFQ standpoint, and then we can, make the RFP and RFQ at that point, and you can base it off of the qualifications then. So he and I can have that conversation later this week, and we can make that determination and move forward. But
I think you're right too. I think we're gonna be, but we can look into it.
So for purposes of moving forward, then we're just gonna make the question of the local office an actual question. And then we'll put in information based off of Ms. Hamilton's discussion about license to recycle in the RFP, also with the equipment of OSHA standards in the RFP, as well as the purchasing power of the containers in the RFP. If you recall, at the most recent bid for the Village Hall project, we asked for financial statements for a certain number of years. There was a lot of question, a lot of pushback that we got from that, but the whole purpose and reason for that is to secure that this person has the financial ability to move forward with the project. So that's something that we'll do in this RFP as well. And as far as a fully staffed customer service, our plans obviously are to try to push as many as we can to the vendor, but we need to look at it from a quality of service, customer service standpoint from us now that it's municipal service, and we feel like we need to have some staff member here to service our residents' needs, Weddington's needs. So we would basically have one person to handle complaints, to kind of oversee the project, and to communicate those to one particular person. So I don't know if a fully serviced customer service base is fully needed in this project, because we feel like we're going to do that in-house. But if y'all feel differently from that, then we should probably put that in the contract. Nope. Okay.
I would like you to reach out, since they apparently had the meeting last night, to Lisa and see how they handled that low bid type thing, just out of curiosity.
Yes, we talk nearly every day because
Okay.
we've been in contact with this, and I can tell you exactly what they decided. Last night was pretty much what y'all decided today, with the exception of they wanted recycling bi-weekly instead of,
Twice a week,
no, every other week.
every other week, okay.
They probably drink with plastic straws too.
And I will tell you that
It won't fit
Waxhaw,
one container.
Monroe, Indian Trail, Stallings all do solid waste collection weekly, and then bi-weekly recycling.
Oh my God, I mean.
I go bi-weekly. I'm actually literally 2 full containers, and they only take 1 container. But we recycle everything. But glass, by the way.
That's all that I
Stop
have.
doing that.
As a component of the RFP process, unless y'all have further comments or concerns, staff will move forward with preparing the RFP and getting it out to vendors. Like I said, the timeline is that we would make the RFP now in February, put it out in March to April. We would select a vendor on April 13th. And if y'all decide to move forward with this, we would displace vendors we would notice to them in May. We would start in the spring, summer of 2022. Unless there's further questions, I am done and I am ready for step 2, which is y'all to
Right now?
authorize, yes, unless y'all have any other questions.
Bob, you have any questions?
Okay.
No,
Is
I know.
this step 2 for me here?
Yes, so we're moving forward, and if y'all could just make a motion for staff to prepare the RFP as discussed.
I would like to make a motion to,
It's not worded that way, I'm
it's
sorry.
really not. I'd like to make a motion to direct staff to prepare the request for proposals for solid waste with all of the considerations that we just discussed.
Further discussion? All's in favor?
I,
Motion passes.
Next up.
Next up, we have discussion consideration entering with McConnell Grading for miscellaneous concrete. And Heather, here, let me give you this. Thank you. Next up, we have discussion and consideration of entering agreement with McConnell Grading for miscellaneous concrete and construction at a per unit cost effective until November 2021 with an option to renew for 2 years contingent upon attorney review.
So inside your agenda packets, I hope you read the memo because it's a little confusing. When you look at the bid summary, you see, a good chunk of change, $473,000 was the lowest responsive bidder. These are all based off of per unit cost. We just kind of arbitrarily set out quantities so that we could get some bid numbers based off of quantities that we anticipated needing. And we will not be awarding $473,000. It's not a lump sum contract, it's a per unit contract. So whatever is used in the contract over the next 3 years is what we would pay based off of those amounts. This money does have to be budgeted in either annually or as a part of whatever project is awarded. And
But this is for like all of our curb and gutter and emergency fixes
That is correct.
and all that stuff.
yes, if you recall, every time we have a little repair that happens that's needed, we come to you guys and we say, hey, we need some money for
Yeah.
emergency repair. We would not be doing that anymore. We would just
And it's probably more expensive to do it that way than
It is.
doing it this way.
Yes.
Okay.
Chaplain, did you have anything you want to say about that, or?
No, you limited it in here as a per unit, and I don't think the 472, 650, the 473, that was, I think, if they did every single project on the list
That's right.
and funds are designated. And I think we'll just confirm in writing to them again that this is only
And it is highlighted.
for requested projects.
Yeah, it is highlighted that it is per unit and that we have the ability to, do whatever we need in, as far as quantity is concerned in your agenda packets so that you can see it. We'll make sure Chaplain reviews it before we sign the.
So some years could be
contract.
less, some years could be more, but this is what we have max for 3 years.
Quantity based, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna make a motion to enter an agreement with McConnell Grading for miscellaneous concrete and construction at per unit cost effective until November of 2021.
Yes, because we'll renew it.
Oh. With an option to renew for 2 years and authorize manager to execute agreement contingent upon attorney review.
Further discussion? All's in favor?
I,
Motion passes. Hang in there, Kim. Next up, we have discussion consideration of authorizing,
God, I can't even find the next thing. I gotta get through this contract.
discussion consideration of authorizing McConnell Grading to address all identified repairs in the drainage, curb, and gutter inventory of 2019 at a price not to exceed $51,600 with a 10% contingency and authorize manager to issue notice to proceed.
So the item that y'all just passed was for McConnell Grading to do all of our miscellaneous repairs in concrete. If you recall, the last curb and gutter assessment that was conducted by A&T, we approved that last year. We had a total of $46,000 that were estimated and needed curb, gutter, and drainage repairs. So when we bid it out based off of the per unit cost, this bid comes back at $51,000. This is for 100% of all curb and gutter repairs that have been identified in the 2019 survey. This is just to move forward with the contract with McConnell to go ahead and execute repairs.
So we did the survey in 2019 and we're just getting to it now?
Correct.
Do we
We
have,
didn't really have anyone to.
well, I was gonna say, do we have any intention on doing it before now?
We have, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
It took us a little bit of time to do the all-inclusive to get the best price to
That's fine. I was
do
just
it.
checking.
Yes.
All right, so I'd like to make a motion to authorize McConnell Grading to address all identified repairs in the drainage, curb, and gutter inventory 2019 at a price not to exceed $51,600 with a 10% contingency, and authorize manager to issue notice to proceed.
Further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next up, we have consider adoption of OR-2021-01-01 for additional funding for engineering for streets and curb and gutter repairs as part of the transportation budget.
Will you tell me punch that?
Pardon me?
It is all Powell funds.
Just kidding.
You should find it.
I just say that to irritate Jamie.
So this is basically just a moving around of funding in our transportation budget, which is all Powell bill funding. We have a little increase in expected engineering costs to go over what we budgeted for streets, and then obviously we had a little bit of increase associated with the curb and gutter that was needed. So this is basically just to move money around in that fund.
Any questions from council? You say no?
He said no because he just stopped talking.
We need a motion?
So moved. No, I'm just kidding. I'd like to make a motion to adopt OR-2021-01-01 for additional funding for engineering for streets and curb and gutter repairs as part of the transportation budget.
Further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next up, we have number 10, discuss and consider appointment to the Board of Adjustments.
You skipped one.
Did I?
Pretty sure.
Yeah, you did.
Discussion and consideration of correction of appointed term for a member of the Parks, Recreation and Greenway Board. Austin, number 9.
Yes.
I
So
went from 8 to 10. So.
when Christina Culp was appointed to the PRG board back in February, due to a clerical error on the agenda, you all appointed her to a term expiring in September of 2020, which has already expired, but based on records, her term should have been 9/1/2022. So
Okay.
the recommended motion is to revise her term to expire on 9/1/2022.
All right, so I'd like to make a motion to revise Christina Culp's term on the Parks, Recreation, and Greenways Board to expire 9/1/2022.
Further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next up, we have discuss and consider appointment to the Board of Adjustments for a term expiring 3/1/2022.
So this is Jason Traub. He is the son of former planning board member Tom Traub. He is greatly interested in being involved on an advisory board in Marvin. He is of the now required age and looks for your approval.
Okay, and this is for an alternate?
Mm-hmm.
All right, and he's a freshman, so is he at school or is he doing school from home?
To my understanding, he is virtual and willing to be at any and all meetings.
Okay.
And it's
I'm
by
good with
then.
it. I love having a young, little fresh block.
We've had this vacancy for a while, so it's good to have
Love it.
alternates.
All right, so I'd like to make a motion to appoint Jason Traub to the Board of Adjustment as an alternate for a term that expires 3/1/22.
Further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Congrats, Jason, and thanks for stepping up.
Thanks for volunteering.
Yeah. Next up,
Stop.
next up, we have review and consider adoption of council meeting minutes from the 12/8/2020 regular meeting.
I have 0 changes.
Oh, I had a bunch.
No, you didn't.
We'll get to it.
Not a
Where is
chance you had any. Keep going, keep
Biscuit.
going, keep going, keep
I
going.
don't know.
There's a lot in there.
Come in.
Ow, what?
Oh, it was just a question with,
Austin.
about,
No.
we had a note,
No,
we had a note in
Where
here,
is
you
this
had
at?
a note in the, G2G annexation update
Where?
that Rohit was going to
Where?
provide,
Where? What page?
Two.
B.
timestamp
So we're under
2455.
B,
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just making a note.
reports and updates.
Right,
Okay.
so we'll
Okay.
provide council members with contact info. So that's all been done, just to make sure. I just wanted to make sure that's all,
That's
everyone's got it. Okay, good. Now, I
No,
have no
I have not
changes.
done that yet.
In full disclosure, I have not reached out to my contact.
I
but I'm-
reached out to
I-
one neighborhood, but the other one I missed the email address.
So here's what I'd suggest, if you're just going into this blind, it's ideal that if you maybe know someone in that neighborhood, they can kind of introduce you to the council members rather than just going blind in it. It
You
may.
mean the board members?
Board members, yeah. That's the approach I'm taking. The individuals that I know, they said, hey, let me get you in touch with this person. So, it's just, I think, a better way
Well, I went in cold, so.
you're allowed. But I have no changes. Anybody else?
Bob, Jamie,
Okay, need a motion to approve the minutes,
as presented.
as presented.
So moved.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. And open topics.
I have one.
Oh, boy, here we go.
Here we go.
Wait a minute. You're changing the color of the containers.
Stop.
Purple.
What's up?
Fuchsia. Okay, so Austin, you did an amazing job with the year wrap up.
The what?
The year wrap up, like the
Oh,
year in
yeah.
review that he sent out. I would really love to have here's what's coming this year. Can we do one of those?
Well,
It doesn't have to be as, dramatic, but,
do you want to do that after your retreat so you guys can discuss your priorities?
I would kind of like to get something out now. Like, this is what we're working on, and then we can kind of say, it does not have to be with the pictures but just something like, here's Village Hall, Heritage, and just kind of give a little poop, poop, poop of where we are. But we got the grant, we're moving forward with, this, trail system. We're having our retreat on this date, more information to come soon. Get out in front of it.
We can get it together.
Okay.
Yeah,
Meet with Christina.
All the good things we've been doing.
yeah. Get ahead of it. We haven't put anything out since that, and
And by the way, I don't know about you guys, but I independently am getting comments on what we're doing
too.
from, just from neighbors and stuff. They go, man, I've never heard so much from the village and
me too.
what's going on. We're not guessing anymore. So the word's getting out for those who want to get the word.
Yep.
And I think that's a good thing.
I just wanted to say one thing. Due to the whole kerfuffle with our emails over the past week,
Yeah.
some of our MailChimp stuff has been going to spam, and I've been trying to get that fixed,
Okay.
but just letting it's a work in
That's fine.
progress.
That's fine. Good job. That was it. That was all. That was easy.
Easy peasy. Okay, nobody else for open topics?
Easy.
Nope.
Sure you don't want to talk about Santa? Just kidding. Next up, agenda items, review of action items and ongoing action item list.
Okay.
So I'll go ahead and start, Austin, you can just fill in if need be. Discuss bonds at the work session for roads. Invite our state representatives to our retreat. Send out information on the Heritage District, list of permitted uses to the public so that we can solicit input. Get an email about the public input meeting for Abington sent out immediately. We will also get a sponsorship policy per chaplain's recommendation to discuss at the work session. We will also get an upcoming project blast email sent out as just recently discussed. We will prepare the retreat agenda. We will also discuss joint meetings with the council at the work session. We will update council at the next meeting on the Union Power burn issue. We will also discuss the donations and sponsorships with rules and the policy at the next work session. And that is all that I have.
Let's see. Rick, didn't you get direction on something dealing with CRTPO?
I also, I got direction to ask about the right-of-way acquisition resources. I also got another piece, the Union County plan, put a notice to the public about that ASAP tomorrow morning. And another ASAP put out the committee's list of commercial uses for public, soliciting public input.
And you're gonna send me the,
the
information that I can forward to WUMA contacts.
Right, I had Abington public info meeting, send the link out to Joe and residents once a week.
And
So,
Derek and
we're
Kim
sending that
will brief the PRG on the discussion of donations. I think that's it. And you already said Newtown Road petition back again?
I've got it done.
Cool. Okay, that's it.
Good deal.
Okay.
All right, council comments?
No, ongoing list.
Ongoing, I'm sorry.
List. Okay,
Yeah, I was already.
where are we with roundabout lighting? Do we have a survey back
I
yet?
didn't get back from Mike.
That's what I asked you today about.
Yeah, I didn't get her back from Mike.
Okay, so let's see if we can have something about a work session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's still working on the survey.
Okay.
Put that work session down.
Okay, signs, village signs. Can you update us on the situation with village signs?
So
I'm
These are the- these
not
are the-
sure everybody knows.
These are the
it.
footers though, right? That's what that discussion with Mike Walden. That's the footers.
yeah, that's for.
I don't know,
this is-
I don't
it
know
goes-
what
it
this
goes on
signs
this.
are,
Yeah.
but it's on here so you can at least update us
Okay,
on
so
it.
we've obviously got signs that have been sitting in here for a couple of weeks that have our new village seal on there that are nice and pretty
They are
that we went out
so nice and so pretty.
to install, and they do not fit into the current posts that the HOAs have. So we are currently assessing options right now to get them mounted in their existing posts. You know, a couple of options that we have are number one, to just go in and put just generic U-channel type posts, which are not very pretty. I don't think the HOAs are gonna be amenable to that because they spent a lot of money on those posts and they're gonna want the street signs with the posts that they have decorative.
Yep.
The cheapest option that we have found thus far is around $12,000 just for the two neighborhoods. So we're looking at options right now. We're actually meeting with a vendor tomorrow to further assist.
Okay.
You can't retrofit.
That's
So,
what we're trying to do, and it's $12,000.
so moving forward, when we get a neighborhood and we order signs, let's look at their post and order the size sign that fits their post.
The size signs that we ordered here are exactly what's defined in our spec manual, so we would have to.
Well, then we may have to change it per the dang neighborhood, because $12,000 is not, there's no bueno.
Am I able to grab one of those signs so that I can walk it to our HOA board members and show them? I'm serious. I want to grab a sign and say,
Just bring it
this
back.
is what I'll bring it back. I just
We're not
want to,
installing anything.
I want to show them that, look, I mean, and they gave me
So we can put it on the record.
some information I think was
Rosemont.
incorrect.
That one's not too big, so that'd probably be the best.
That's
one.
perfect.
Yeah.
I'll take
Okay.
that one. I will bring it back.
Just take the,
I'm
put
gonna
the,
walk
stick,
it
put
right
the
in
sticker
front
on
of
it on the other one.
And
'Cause
say,
Derek's
look,
gonna
we're
file
trying to
system.
brand our community, and I know we're part South Carolina, which is probably why this didn't get approved,
She
but,
specifically cited that.
what's that?
That's what she told me. It was because there were South Carolina residents that wouldn't like
Of
it.
course, there are, but you know what? It's Marvin residents paying for it.
So we'll,
So it's like, they bought in South Carolina, knowing when they signed their deed that they're buying in South Carolina, not in North Carolina. They're buying in Marvin, or they're buying in
So
South
does your HOA
Carolina.
president live in South Carolina?
Yes.
Oh, there you go.
so we'll have more information at the work session on what we're gonna do with this.
But they're.
Okay, thank you. I just didn't know if everybody was aware of that situation. Okay, that's it. That's all I have. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Council comments. Bob, you want to start?
Sure. I hope everybody, the residents and all, in spite of COVID-19, had a good holiday season. The feedback and observation, despite a little bit of the drama, I think the Santa Claus tour route, I think was well received. I know that I was in the Innisbrook community, and there were droves of parents and kids out in the street. So, you know, I gotta say that I think that was a good move. It was a good idea. It was fun. So maybe we need to look at that maybe next year, possibly. Other than that, again, thanking the staff for the past year, the good job that you all have done, especially with what we're going up ahead. We got a lot of challenges ahead. It's going to be fun, actually, but they're challenges, and we're going to be having to make a lot of important decisions. So regarding roads, regarding town hall, regarding zoning for the Heritage District. So looking forward to it.
Thank you. Kim?
No, I'm good, thank you. Good job, everybody.
All right. Jamie?
Just great to be here for 2021, and we finally got out of 2020. But my biggest thing that I just keep wanting more and more of is I want the public comment. I want participation with Coffee with Council. I'm still in single digits for all the times I've done Coffee with Council. I'm still in single digits. Would love to see more participation in that. You've got two opportunities to do it, one during the day, one during the evening. Would also, here we still have public comment period. Again, the only way we know what's going on and what's being said or what's being thought or what's being people are disgruntled about is sharing that opinion. And I know we're in times of COVID. We still have people. We still have 2 visitors, 3 visitors online, maybe, kind of the same ones, which is good. We still have public comment period. We do these surveys and we do this stuff. It'd be nice to have
some interaction.
some robust interaction with HOA presidents. Maybe HOA presidents get in line with their neighborhoods and say, okay, what's got you twisted up, or what would you like to see for the village? And then take that into public comment period. Take it to Coffee with Council. I mean, kind of package it up and then bring it to us. So we got some great stuff coming up in 2021, but it's only as good as what the information we can work off of and the feedback that we get from everyone. So, and then last but not least, as always, keep our law enforcement, especially here in Marvin, safe, and appreciate the Arduous staff. Thank you. You guys do a tremendous job to keep us going, keep us on track, keep us on schedule, and I appreciate all your hard work in doing that. So,
Thank you, Jamie. All right, well, welcome back and Happy New Year to all. Hope you all, as Bob said, had a great holiday with your families, if you had the chance to be with family. Thanks, staff, obviously. Christina, I know I don't call you out individually, but you do a great job, and I'm happy that you are with us and will continue to be with us. Also, you will, right? No, thanks. Also, in talking about staff, I want to do a little shout out to Rohit and also Dan Wilson for what you guys put together to get that grant. I know you were kind of priding us to get that along, but that's always been available, grants like this and stuff, but we've never taken action on it. So it's a big deal to get that kind of thing, and that's fun. It's a nice feather in your cap as well. So to you and both Dan Wilson, who's on our Parks and Rec, and Austin, obviously, with the website, you continue, because I'm getting nothing but positive feedback. So thank you, and we couldn't appreciate that more from what you guys are doing. Also, a quick shout out to the Marvin Heritage Strategic Planning Committee for getting together and, kind of confirming what, we thought, but it's just more affirmation that there's a lot of like minds, even in the people that we didn't really know who we appointed. There's a lot of minds, but there will always be those people that are squeaky wheel people. John Jones as well. I mean, over the last couple months, I know he's been through surgery and stuff, but he's still been actively involved. And again, he catches things. He couldn't be a better position for planning board chair. Appreciate his efforts. And then finally, Jason Traub for stepping up as one of our younger volunteers. Is that official? Okay. Volunteers for one of our youngest residents. You know, as a member of a board here. And then obviously, if you don't all know, Nancy, our tax collector, has submitted her resignation for retirement, and for good reasons. And she wants to be with family more. She's got grandkids now, and I think her husband's retiring. So I was sad to hear that she was going to be leaving us, but certainly appreciate the years of service that she has done, and I think we can probably look to do something nice for her and the work session and stuff. And then the last thing I got a weather alert. I always keep a weather alert. There's dense fog and ice and dense fog in the Charlotte regional area. So if you're traveling, be careful in the mornings. That's all I had. No snow, just dense fog and icy patches. So, hey, I'm your weather guy. With that, I'll need a motion to move into closed session.
Pursuant to. Hold on a second, NCGS 143-318.11A6 to discuss personnel. So moved.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We're live.
I'd like to make a motion to move into open session from closed session.
You have to move out of closed session first. Motion.
It's the same thing.
Okay.
Right?
All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, so with the changing of the form of government, we need to update our personnel policy. So if we can look at some new language for that, and also if we need to add full-time employees to section 29.
The limitations of full-time employees?
Yeah.
For the work session?
For the work session, yes. And just kind of work up some language and see what it sounds like.
Okay,
And
so
that'll be there for discussion.
And that'll be there for discussion.
section 29 would only apply to full-time employees.
Correct.
say something about staff or something?
Correct. Full-time, yeah, we're only, full-time office staff.
the language is going to be.
Sorry, full-time office staff. And just, let's look at the language and talk about it. Okay.
Give us something to work off of.
See if it makes, some clarification.
I think we can do that.
All right.
Just some instruction, direction needed.
And then
And then I'd like to make a motion to hire John Gully for a part-time park employee.
So we're still making motions for hiring, even though she's a manager.
Yeah.
Because your personnel policy
Hasn't
hasn't changed.
Okay,
Either
so
the
that's why we
statute
gotta
gives,
change it to,
Yeah.
okay.
yes, sir, but I think they were gonna change
But we
that.
have an open position
Yeah.
that we need to fill.
Great. All right, further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes, and I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
10:28 p.m.
All's in favor?
Aye.